Meeting the order of the Rutland Town Select Board. This is our regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, May 19th, 2026. We have Kurt Hathaway, Joe Denardo, Mary Ashcroft, Matt Getty, and we're hoping to see Sharon Russell is probably zooming in. See, so she is not. Because she had told me this afternoon she was. So, okay. All right, so we have four of us. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Selectboard minutes for May 5th.
Move to approve.
Been made to approve and seconded. Any additions, corrections, deletions? Not. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Stand.
Abstaining. Okay,
Mhm.
so it's 4-3.
3-1 abstention, 1 absent.
You're gonna have
It's gonna be a long.
Yes, ma'am. You got it.
Okay. 3 in favor, 2 abstentions.
Go for now.
Okay. Approval of orders. Has everyone had a chance to look at them? They're out there. Motion's been made to approve.
Second.
And seconded. Any discussion? I did look at the weather station one and we budgeted down to like 12 cents for that. That was really good. Yeah. All in favor of approving the orders, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Okay, any board member announcements? Date from the Selectboard Chair. It's circulating, there's a thank you note from Marcia Chaffee. Saying she appreciated working with all the folks here and will miss us. Well, maybe not the select board, but she'll miss everybody, you know. We'll miss you too, Marcia. All right. Are there any questions from the floor or public comments from people not otherwise on tonight's agenda? No? Okay. Just so you know, we will be taking up the Walmart project at 6:30. So if you're here for the Walmart project, you want to get up and stretch your legs, you will not insult us. Just we had it set up that way so we can get through some of our other business first. Special request from Kari Clerk to take Chris Clark's position and go first. She assures me that that's okay with the fire chief. But come on up, Kari.
I promise it is.
Okay. Yeah, it's real.
Okay, couple of things. Like I thought. Good things and we on your desk, I gave you copies of the local option tax spreadsheet. We received our last payment for what they consider the year, and then it'll start over again. We just received a payment of $366,316.69. And that brings us to a grand total for their year of $1.6 million, $13,443.97. and we had budgeted 1.3, so we are in excess of $313,443.97.
Okay, nice work.
Thought I'd start off with that.
Yeah, that is a really good one to start.
You go from there.
Yeah.
That's good.
Then Sears, do not spend it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let's see. So, the tax installment for us just kind of commenced,
Mhm.
and so yeah, a little bit downhill.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, while we did pretty well, we got about 95% this time. And you think that's great, but really we've been like averaging 97, 98. We really want 100%, but we're not going to get that. So this time, that what that looks like for this payment, I mean, converted into dollar amounts, we're missing, or people haven't paid $244,400 of our third installment. So since it's the end of the fiscal year, I'm looking at having to turn over money to the delinquent tax collector by the end of May by statute. And currently we're looking at turning over $398,334 roughly. It's a little more than what we have done in the past. So I'm a little concerned, but not with you guys. I'm a little concerned with our taxpayers. And first and foremost, I understand that life happens. There's a portion of, you forget, it happens. But I did write a circle article, which will come out next time. Kind of, just going over some of the things that we've been seeing this past time. And basically reminding the public that your property taxes, although they may not think so, kind of one of the more important bills that you probably have. And probably one of the more hefty penalties that you would have if you didn't pay it than other bills that they may have. So kind of pointers in the article coming out. We saw a lot of payments being made that were not this year's tax bill. That's gonna be a little bit more effort on our part to get that money back to people because they overpaid. Lots of that this year. They referred to their last year's tax bill. Don't really know why. It's what was available to them.
Yeah.
A lot of payments that came in, especially through the mail, if they chose to do that, the check wasn't made out correctly, or it wasn't complete or signed, meaning complete, or they used the incorrect amount again. So basically my article is, in a nice, kind way, double check your work, pay attention a little bit more when you're talking about your property taxes and paying them. I have no doubt that we do have a delinquent tax collector that has in the past collected some good amounts for us. So I'm hopeful that he's able to reach out to these people on a more personal level and get some of that money back for us that we were anticipating. But having said that, I'm watching closely, and this is more for you guys. I'm watching closely our checking account for the town.
Mhm.
And as you know, we rely highly on our tax payments as revenue to make our expenses. And I do have an email out to our auditors, but it's getting really close in our bank account where I'm not quite yet concerned. I was at one point last week. I checked it again. I've been checking it every day. Today, it looks a little bit better than it was last week, which we had spoken about. few things came in, some state money came in, and such, that makes it look better. But essentially, in these orders, we're writing out a check to the school for their portion, and their last payment is 3.3 million, little over that. And taking that into account in our bank account, it's not leaving a lot of leeway. There is more than what we thought, Mary, last week. But I reached out to Andrew. He's busy today. I'm certain he'll get back to me in my concerns of, I know what we as a town have decided as cash to open, meaning we need to get through summer and mainly a portion of August until the next tax payments start rolling in for next year, with what I think is going to be left after we pay out our orders today, which end up to be a total of 3.5 million. And I just don't, I'm watching it carefully to make sure that we're within our means. I believe we've done 500,000 to open.
Cash.
And I think that's where it's hovering around, but I want Andrew to put eyes on it and
Yes,
kind of
please.
make sure that he and I are on the same page. I just wanted to give you guys that heads up a little bit. I know, I'm just paying attention to it more closely.
Well, we appreciate that.
So,
We're close, and the cash to open allows us not to borrow in anticipation of
Correct.
risks, which is huge. So
correct.
So we reduced it, we were at 1.5, right?
we were at 1.5, then we went to 1.
1.
And when did we reduce
I
it?
didn't think we did it again, but did
We
we?
talked
We
about
did it while I was here in my tenure here. And I believe you were here too. We put it on the
Salad.
ballot.
ballot,
Mhm.
But I didn't,
Mhm.
I only remember going from 1.5 to 1.
I do remember that.
I don't remember the other reductions, but
Again, I want to bounce things around with Andrew.
May have been,
we
For
took
the
500,
public
we took the
safety building.
500,000 and put it toward the bond at Center.
yeah,
But I don't recall using any more of it. But
Okay,
I
well-
thought Kari told us that she didn't want to go below.
And am I mistaken that it would be 1 million? What, see, again, I
Well,
want
let's
to
double check.
double check. That's why I
Right,
have
to
other
the-
people.
I thought the cash to
voters.
Yeah.
open should be 1 million.
I can look back on the ballot, just didn't really get that
That
opportunity
might make
yet,
me
but
breathe easier.
it might, but still, I'm watching that bank account like a hawk.
Well, that just means we have to have more in banks. That depends on which numbers you're looking at, to whether you read
Right. Well,
Deeper
like I
or
said, I'm
shallow.
pretty, I remember we voted to reduce, to take that 500,000 and put
I know
it
we
towards the
did.
bond.
You're probably right, Joe. I
I
just
think we
wanna,
went 2 or 3 years at the 1.5 and we were okay and better than okay, and you thought we could get along with 1 million.
Mhm. I know we can. The 500 is,
Yeah, no,
maybe I
Absolutely.
have it wrong in my head.
Yeah,
yeah,
hope I
I
do.
think, I'm not trying to tell you you're wrong, but I think you are.
I'm glad you're telling me I'm wrong.
I'm pretty sure we said.
I have resources I can look back. I just haven't yet.
Okay.
So I knew the meeting was tonight and I wanted to just kind of put that out there though,
Okay,
because,
yep, good. I'm glad you're tracking it, so thank you.
and it kind of just goes along with the people that don't quite pay, we rely on that. And there's a reason why. So I started off good and I kind of went downhill a bit.
You got any more?
No.
Okay.
How is it?
All right, any questions for our town clerk and treasurer? No, BCA, Board of Civil Authority meeting coming up to abate taxes. This is a tough time of year to get people together, I know, but if there's any chance select board members can participate, that would be a really good thing, so. Just putting it out there, Kari sent out.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks for letting me take Chris's spot.
Well, we deal with Chris.
I usually do.
Okay. Right, Mike Rowe, Town Rec Director.
Evening all.
Good evening.
So we had a wonderful attendance at our senior lunch today at Baxter's Restaurant. We had over 40. We are planning either to go to Lake George for the lunch cruise or to Lake Champlain lunch cruise in June. So if anybody wants to join us for the senior group, Joe, you are more than welcome to tag along and have fun, as long as you don't get seasick. So a lot going on. The pool gets turned on Friday, and we hope to open on the 6th for the weekend, weather depending. We had our lifeguard cleanup this past weekend. They did a great job of cleaning up all the stuff that gathers in the wintertime and the mice and everything. So we got all that cleaned up, ready to go. We're doing some finishing touches on it. I have a couple people working on doing some painting and stuff at the pool. Let's see. Our pool signups will be on the 2nd and the 3rd, so I might not be here on the 2nd because that's at the pool. So those are our signups for passes and lessons on June 3rd, 2nd and 3rd, which is coming up very quickly. I have 2 more things. I met with the city. I had the privilege of going to the meeting last night, and my cohort, April, and I gave them a brief
It's the Board of Aldermen.
Board of Aldermen
Yes.
meeting, yes, which is live. We might want to think about doing that. Just kidding. And so Mr. Clifford read off all of what we had talked about, the 2 of you were at the meeting. So just, I don't know if you guys know what's going on. July 3rd, we're at the park. Right now we have, the only thing right now that we're working diligently on are the food truck vendors.
Mhm.
Everything else is planned, organized between the 2 city departments and checking with Ted. The police department knows that of the city as well.
The city is gonna try to work on getting 2 officers there to help us. I also let the barracks know.
Perfect. So we should be covered with that. We have it all laid out. We talked about advertising, and on your desk you have 2 color copied. These are 2 different advertisements for 2 different events that we are holding. The blue one, which will be also converted into a banner and other different displays that will, when it's finalized, it still has a couple little pieces missing. For example, the 2 rec department logos are going in the bottom 2 corners. This will be blasted out on social media and whatever we can. This is the flyer for that. It is Rutland, City of Rutland and Rutland Town present Summer Jam 250, 2 communities, 1 celebration, 1 country. And then the list of the activities, where it's at, and celebrating our anniversary of 250. This sign will go up at the pool as soon as it's made. The city is taking the lead on making the posters.
Okay.
That will be the only sign at the park until July 3rd at the top. After July 3rd, the second one
Okay.
will go up so that there's no confusion with people. This is our new Rutland Town Community Day, which we have changed the name. Bill and I worked diligently on that, and Bill, with his wonderful typing skills, put in the new banner that we will put up
Is
making our banner.
You didn't put Sunday, which is a change. Sunday,
Right, we just put the date.
right.
We
And
can,
my
this is not set in
That's what I
stone.
was hoping.
This was for you to look at,
Okay,
and we can go from there.
I really suggest you put Sunday in because it is a change from what we've done in the past.
Bill, you got that?
So, okay.
Bill's on.
Okay.
He designed it. So this will be our second one for our other celebration at the park. So those are our 2 folders that will be going out when they are approved and turned into banners and put at the park, and then through all our social
So
media
we're
and stuff.
looking for all kinds of vendors.
We're looking for all kinds of vendors right now. The Sunday Sisters are in. We have plenty of entertainment, music, and DJ. We have the big, if you've been to Friday Night Live and seen the big bounce house selection they have down there, that whole group is coming.
Nice.
Down back are the 2 city rec departments are putting all of our play resources out there on the backfield. So as it looks right now, the pool will be open, free swim from 4 to 8. The whole event is 4 to 8. Food trucks will be lined up down the road to the backfield. There'll be an informational tent right at the intersection, and parking will take place to the right of the transfer station on the grass and up in the parking lot. So nobody will be able to drive down. And then on the backfield, like I said, there'll be foosball, human foosball, which the two, we joked about that at the other meeting last night of having you guys compete against the others.
I want one we can win at.
We did disc golf. There's a bunch of different games that we have.
Okay.
We have, we also have,
Cornhole?
we have all kinds of games. We have plenty of games between the two departments, Gaga, that the kids are just gonna get free play. We did get a couple other groups. It's eluding my mind. The one with the blue blocks, they're gonna come, Wonder Feet
Okay.
is coming. Sorry. I always think blue blocks are Wonder Feet. So they're coming down in the back as well, and a couple of us that we're working on for entertainment.
Before I forget, one of the things we discussed, ordinarily, we do have a fee that we charge food vendors. We would like to suspend that fee for this one-day event. And that's on July 3rd. So we are inviting vendors, but we're not going to, I think we want them to fill out the form, but we're not going to charge a fee.
Correct. It is good weather only. If it rains, the event does not happen.
So
There's no rain date.
Motion. Motion's made
Second.
and seconded to suspend the vendor fee for the July 3rd event. Any discussion? Not all in favor, please say aye.
Right.
Aye. Motion carries. So that you need to make sure that goes in the minutes. So thank you, Bill.
It's also on the flyer at the bottom there to contact me, and then I will direct them to Bill. I know it's in a little bit smaller print
Okay.
as far as food trucks.
Yeah, and he's got to line them up and make sure.
So we're pretty good with that. We have the hospitality tent right at the front where people know where to go and what to do, and it should be a pretty awesome event
Good. Well,
with
thank
everybody
you all.
helping out. So a big help to everybody that's
Yeah.
involved in.
Yeah.
And then I think, well, I was going to mention the wave thing, waive the fee. I think that's all I have, unless you guys have anything for me. Everything's
Any questions?
running smoothly at all of our parks, and baseball's doing awesome. Oh, one thing we did talk about at the intermunicipal meeting is participation from the boards
Mhm.
at the event. So we would really encourage as many people to, as far as the elected officials, to be at this combined
Yes.
event.
Please.
And that was stressed again last night at the Alderman meeting.
Yeah.
To be there as well, just to show. And they were very favorable. If you didn't watch it, Mr. Gillum was very excited about bringing together and why we don't do it more often. So, and there was a lot of like, yeah, why don't we kind of
Good.
conversation between the two. So
Great.
that's all I have, unless anybody else has anything for me. Oh, one other thing I did. Oh yeah, I forgot. Sorry. With our new pool, architect, I will let them know they want to do a kickoff meeting with anybody that would like to listen in for their presentation for our pool. It will be a Zoom meeting a Zoom meeting from here. So I'll contact the people that were on the committee, and if any of the board members want to jump in, I'm going to schedule that for probably for next week to get the ball rolling. They reached out to me with wanting to do that first step. And so if you're interested in joining in, let me know. I'll schedule it with Bill, and we will host it here with them to get the ball rolling.
With your committee?
With the committee they will be invited as well.
Okay.
Yep, without a doubt.
Good. Right. Any questions further for our rec director? Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, Ted Washburn, Town Police Chief. And Matt and I need to schedule a police committee meeting with you.
I was gonna ask for one too, so. Jared obtained his FAA license for the drone.
Good. Oh, I put in my article that there would be a drone display.
There will be.
Okay, very good.
So Jared got confirmation on that. The FAA signed off on it, so his license is technically in the mail, but he's good to fly.
Good.
Jimmy and Canine Rooster were recertified in tracking last week.
Good.
So they are good to go for another year. The police committee meeting, I was gonna ask for interview dates with you two for the applicants for our vacancy.
Okay.
So I have 2 applicants that we want to interview, but I want to get everyone's schedule together. So that we're all involved with the hiring process.
Okay, and you know what their availability is?
I told them that I will let them know what
Okay.
the interview dates are going to be and they can make it work.
Matt and I were just talking about, because we also need a finance committee meeting, so
Yeah.
we'll probably do them back to back.
Okay. We assisted the school with an evac drill yesterday. No issue. So we do it every year. And the last thing was that it's very well public knowledge now. Officer Perkins is resigning his position as school resource officer. He has taken a position with a city municipality in Florida and will be their beach parking enforcement supervisor. So,
I know,
yeah,
we don't have a beach.
yeah, exactly.
We don't have beach weather.
Oh, no,
So his final day will be June 12th.
okay,
So we'll have 2 days where the school does not have it'll have somebody in it. It just won't be the SRO,
well, come August, he'll wish he were back here.
probably.
So now you're looking for 2 persons.
So I'm gonna have to post that position now that he's made it official.
Okay. Alrighty, we knew it was coming,
Yep.
yeah.
Other than that, that's all I got.
Okay, so we'll circulate emails to pick a good day and time, or
Yep.
at least not a horrible day and time for police committee. Any further questions from our police chief? And thanks for your work coordinating for our July 3rd event. That'll
Yep.
be,
I asked the city, Chief Proudy, he said he's gonna try to get 2 of his bicycle certified officers
Yes.
up there. And I haven't heard from the barracks yet, but I imagine they'll be involved somehow.
good, all right.
We, have a P in a timed race. and a
Yeah,
bike
really.
trail.
I'm sure if you asked, they probably would.
I mean, if we put Rooster up against their police dog, how would we do?
He wins every time.
All right, let's get that one set up. Okay,
Alrighty,
that's it. Thank you very
thank
much.
you.
Find anything else at the park that we weren't looking for?
Yes, right. Let's see, we've got 2.5 minutes. We got any Barbara noise polling? Do you have 2.5 minutes worth of?
Yeah,
Okay,
we, the planning commission, the town planning commission is going to, start a series of meetings on the content for the signs for the pocket park. And following what we get from Otter Creek Engineering, we can put the other committees to work as well. But our first sign content meeting is going to be June 4th. And it's going to be the hour before our regular meeting. So the committee meeting will be at 5:30 to 6:30. And I have like 5 groups of signs, I think. Indigenous, crossroads, which would include military uses and very early settlers, early industry, corporate consolidation, especially with the marble industry, and then hydropower. So ideally, it'd be great to have room on the kiosks for a lot of information or 5 informational signs in the park at some point. So anxiously awaiting the Otter Creek designs, the preliminary and final designs. We talked to a new planner at the Regional Planning Commission in our last meeting, and we're going to kick off the new town plan work in August and September. And we're still having the townwide celebration, right, in August?
yes, we're calling it Rutland Town Community Day. It is on Sunday, August 16th. That's a change from our
Okay.
usual Saturday. So Sunday, August 16th. And that's from 10 to 2.
Okay, and still thinking it might be fun to do the Name the Pocket Park contest, even though Joe came up with a great name, The Falls. We could have some fun with that one.
Okay,
as well. And that's all I have.
all right. I haven't gotten to Kevin about the lease issue in the subdivision ordinance, so I need to do that. So thank you, and I have homework to do for you folks too. Any other questions for our town planning commission? As always, thanks for all your work. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Right. Right, it is now 6:30, so we've got a lot of information. Attorney Greg, would you like to guide us through the presentation you want to give us?
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
There, yes, and whoever else you want.
I'll start and then I will carefully choose my victim.
Okay, very good.
Perfect. Thank you. So good evening. My name is David Craig and the attorney for the owner of the property, Rutland LLC. And with me is Bo Sizemore. He is the store manager of the Rutland in Rutland City. And as I understand the workings of Walmart, he is like the prospective designated store manager should be to be of the new store. So he's been working closely with me through the permitting process. He's a young man from Texas who's becoming an expert on Act 250, and I appreciate that. And so he'll be available for sideline work when this is done and over with. If you have any projects, you need any help, volunteer, there you go. I also have Jeff Carr. Jeff Carr is with EPR Economics. Jeff's been doing economic consulting in Vermont longer than I've been practicing law, I'm pretty sure. I got admitted in 1990. You beat me by what, 5-10 years or so?
You don't have to answer that.
You don't have to answer that, but he's been doing it a long time.
Depends if you count my time when I was a state employee.
There you go. There you go. He has done an analysis of the economic and fiscal impacts of the store. And since we're here tonight around the issue of impacts to the municipality and the completion of the municipal impact questionnaire, I thought you might be interested in hearing from him. Now, I don't know for sure that you want to. I hope you will. I think he's got a lot to say, and I've dragged him down here from Chittenden County. But
as a recovering select board member, myself, I'm totally at your disposal.
so I did want to make sure that
He was the feature of tonight.
that's what I thought. I mean, I wanted to make sure that we have the information. Now, I also understand that I am to give an update on what's going on at the property location with respect to keeping it under control with the debris and whatnot. So 2 weeks ago, we were here, we were discussing that issue. In the interim, we've engaged Hubbard Brothers, and Bill Sweet and I were at the site. Tim Hubbard was there. Tim told us that he pulled out 26 tons of debris, not including metals. He made a point of telling me. He is under contract to provide services. And one of the things we discussed and resolved on site was that we're going to have an email group so that as there are reports of debris dumping, we're able to get that information to me, to the people who are responsible with A to Z, to Tim, who's going to be on site. And he's talking about, having his weekly day up there. But I'm sorry?
They were there today.
Yeah, no, just so you all, I know you all understand, but I also want to just say what happened today. We have no control over when people show up and when they decide to dump their garbage or make an improper use of the property. So a young man I have with me from A to Z, Steve, he was here on site today. All of a sudden, there's a camper. It doesn't have a trailer hitch. They're just there. I don't know who brought them there. I don't know.
Was that down the south end with the note
Yep.
on the door? Yep.
It's
been there a week or so.
I don't know. I don't know who brought them there. I don't know who dropped them off, but they were there. And we go down there, and it's occupied. We are not law enforcement. We can't compel them to do something. We don't have any rights of self-help. We are totally dependent upon voluntary cooperation. If we don't get voluntary cooperation, we need police assistance. We were able to get the state police there today, and we had it towed. Can I say that someone won't be up there tonight dumping? No, all of you know that. So we're going to do our best. We're going to continue to do our best. We know we have two big occasions coming up, the Rotary, as well as the high school graduation. That's one of the reasons we're going to set up the email group. And so we understand what your concerns are. And, we are endeavoring to address them. And we have brought on Hubbard Brothers for local services. And I think with that and the email information that we're talking about, I think we can quickly both react to what happens as well as have kind of a weekly routine. So that's the update on that topic.
Okay. How long is their contract for?
Well, it certainly is at least until we get through permitting. Okay. I mean, I have in my possession the contract. I didn't necessarily want it to become a document subject to the open meeting law and your public records requests, at least until Tim had an opportunity to chime in on that.
Okay.
But the point is that, and this leads into kind of an update as to where we're at. So the point is that we still have months in front of us. We have responded to what's called the incomplete letter, which the state coordinator issued. One of the last issues that we had to address was why we think bus service is more appropriate than a sidewalk. And so there is now a signed agreement with Marble Valley Regional Transportation District.
Was that in our packet?
It was in your packet.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm just going to hand them out, and I can give these to the people in attendance if anyone would like. Oh, if you could assist.
Absolutely.
So we have there is now a signed agreement with Marble Valley Regional Transportation District to provide what we call Service Bundle 3. And it will commence on the day the store opens for business. So that's been arranged for. It's now part of the application. And so I have provided, with the assistance of experts, MSK engineer, I've got Craig Jewett here. If you want to see the site plan where the bus stop is, we can show you that. We've provided, we believe, everything that's required of us in the application except the municipal impact questionnaire. We advised the state coordinator that we would be appearing in front of you, and we made sure to, in writing, state that the mandatory time requirements for reviewing the application wouldn't begin until we hope to successfully obtain your favorable municipal impact questionnaire. So we've done that. That's where we are on the process. As soon as the filing is checked in, it's available on the Active 50 database. I always encourage you to look at that database. You'll see a lot of what we're presenting to you on the Active 50 database. And with that, we have Jeff, and just so you know, Craig Jewett from MSK Engineer. Zeev's direct supervisor is Mason Fox. Mason reports to Joe Anthony. Joe, you know. And who else am I missing? I think I got it. So, with that, Jeff, would you like to?
The select board
So desires.
I'm Jeff Carr. I'm a recovering select board member. Served in my town select board in my previous town residence for about 10 years. Spent 4 years as chair. So I feel your pain. And I moved to my new community and immediately volunteered for 4 committees. I'm on the finance committee in my new town. I am also on the community and economic development committee. I'm an officer in the 501c3. That's the action arm for economic development of the select board in my town, which is called Experience Shelburne. And I'm also my town rep to the Chittenden County Regional Planning Organ, Organization / Regional Planning
I'm
Commission.
glad you're keeping this.
Yes. My wife thinks I need my head examined. And I've got new copies of updated report because the one that you probably saw was 6 months old. It didn't have the Marble Valley Regional Transit District agreement in it. It had it probably is going to end up being updated again at some point in time for Act 250 because we basically had almost another year of activity and actual activity with the town as the host community. So I just wanted to give you, this is where it is. It was updated early in May for the Marble Valley Regional Transit thing. I mixed it up a little bit with the mayor and the regional planning commissioner on the local option tax issue. So I put a little bit more specificity about what their ordinance says in it. So I just wanted you to have that information, because actually local option taxes are going to be very, very good to you, if this project goes through. I think it pretty much, overcomes every other thing that's in the municipal impact study that's done for Act 250. Because when those sales are relocated to the town, obviously 1% that is going to be pretty significant money. Took a shot at estimating it. I think by the time after the store opens in 28, and by the time it gets to 2032, 33, 34, I think it's going to be $1 million. So that can, for the town, so that can overcome a lot of municipal service costs and things like that, which I think, since we did that for Act 250, David wanted me to come and talk to you about what we did for Act 250, even though it technically wasn't done for you specifically. So that's why I'm here tonight. When we do this kind of work, just by way of context, it's a long-term estimate of impact. It tries to look through the kinds of things that are happening now in the Middle East and Eastern Europe. Things that are going on with the economic situation with AI, the evolution and the development of e-commerce, which obviously is helpful for the local option tax if products are delivered to someone with a town of Rutland address. It's captured by the Department of Taxes, and it's part of the payment that you hear in your first presentation tonight. When we get out that far, it's hard to estimate local option tax, but we've done it for the store, not necessarily for the rest of the community, because it's focused on the store. Among other things, they just changed the percentage. They upped the percentage. I know the Vermont League of Cities and Towns is going to have quite a bit of a discussion with the state and with the legislature over the next year or so, because they're concerned that the $5.96 per document process administrative fee seemed a little high to some of the communities. I know that there's an awful lot of, and when they do it on the deliveries to a house, $5.96 for an administrative fee sometimes eats up most of the local option sales tax that comes from a transaction that goes to a homeowner in the community. So there's a lot of moving parts still with the local option tax.
Well, Rutland Town has at least 5 different zip codes. So knowing what vendor collecting the tax is in the town versus one of the others is a challenge. And the state will not share
Same thing.
their list.
Same thing happened when I did work for St. Albans City versus St. Albans Sound.
Yeah.
I will tell you that in my other life as a state revenue forecaster for the state of Vermont and doing that for 35 years, I have a lot of confidence in the state in terms of being able to do that. And, you've had the local option tax for quite a long period of time. So by now they should be pretty good at it because it's been 17, 18 years since you've had it. And the city went down that road in 2023. So by now they should have a pretty good idea of who's a city resident. Although I noticed the line goes pretty close to the edge of the building here
Well,
when I
yes.
came in, you know?
But we do still catch them. I mean, I was at a local vendor a couple of years ago, looked at my sales slip, which is what we all encourage people to do. And the 1% didn't show up. So we
Well,
asked Bill to correct it, and that was done.
that's not a Rutland City, Rutland Town issue.
No, it's
That's a
not.
lack of compliance on the overall issue.
That's right.
Yeah. And the tax department's always getting better on that. I had a lot to do with working to get local option tax added in my community in the town of Shelburne. And, we had the same questions and those kinds of things. And I was off by 0.4% this year in my estimate for them because I underestimated the administrative fee. So it's a little bit of a sore spot for me. The other thing that this study does, and I'm not going to walk you through it, is it just tries to measure the increments. We already have a well-established Walmart 2 or 3 miles away, and this study just measures the move from up by about 100,000 square feet. So the communities in the areas retail market is already used to having a Walmart in town. There will be some expanded product offerings, obviously, with a bigger store and things of that nature. And they're also going to ramp up their e-commerce. But that's what we try. That's what we try to do. So it's about a 55% increase in activity that's associated with the relocation. And all the employees are going to be offered the opportunity to, stay with the company and just move 3 miles. And as David said, now with transit opportunity out there, that probably is going to help things. And, I, in my other life also, tax increment financing district, I was impressed with what the city's doing on tax increment financing district.
Yep.
And for me, when I'm sitting there, I think the last thing you want in your new shiny downtown is a discount retailer in the middle of your downtown. And so this, I think, gives an opportunity for Walmart to be able to do what they want to do. I mean, it was a great idea in the 1990s when Paul Brum brought up the idea of having, Walmarts in downtowns. And, I talked to him at length about it. And I think it was a good idea before the growth of e-commerce and the growth of experience type retailing. And the market's changed. And, out at the property where the store is going, you had a bunch of low cost, national retailers out there for a number of years until about 5 or 6 years ago. So that's certainly, I think, an appropriate use for that going forward. I think the other thing that an expanded store gives the area for retail is there's a lot of leakage now that's moving to other areas like Lebanon, New Hampshire, and Connecticut River Valley, and also over to Glens Falls. And this will give the local area the opportunity to maybe recapture a little bit of that leakage. And so that's kind of the context of what's going on here. I think the other thing in our study is we've tried to be conservative. And by conservative, there's a whole bunch of different things. Number one, we tried to exaggerate the population and economic impacts that drive increased people, increased school kids, and things like that in order to be conservative. On the revenue side, we tried to be conservative in terms of estimating the revenues so that things are brought, a little bit closer together with a kind of very conservative way of looking at things. We have you'll see in the municipal services study impact on the non-residential side, a really small increase in the grand list value for the store. It's probably, not more than 50-60% what it probably is going to turn out to be. Obviously, that affects the cost side of it, but it also affects the revenue side. And even when you have a larger increase in the grand list value, depending upon how you assess it, it's all over the map. If you look at assessments of big box stores all over the country, we started with $125 a square foot. And then we took a fraction of that because a lot of times, when a new store goes in, it doesn't go in at 100% of what the value of the new store is in the grand list. I know that if the grand list amount goes up, the way the dynamics are for the variable costs on the cost side and the revenues associated with the property tax, municipal property tax, which I'm already 5 cents under 2026, relative to what I estimated. So the revenues are probably going to be higher than what is in this report. It balances out reasonably well. And if the grand list goes in at double what we think it's going to be, the surplus grows from about $15,000 to $16,000 over the 5 or 6 year period, something like 50,000. So I think when we've done our analysis, we've kind of covered it in terms of understanding that it's going to be likely a net positive for the community in terms of the municipal services costs versus the municipal revenues. I think the other thing that obviously is one of the more important fiscal contributors is the local option tax, which you use in your budget. And like I said earlier, by the time you get to 2032, 2033, I think it could be as high as $1 million to the community for the sales part.
Why waiting so long? Why not project what it's gonna be?
I did in 28. There's a little bit in 28, but it matters whether or not the store opens in March versus opens in April.
Mhm.
Because if it opens in March, that means you'll get something in 28. If it opens up in April, that means you're not going to get anything until 29. And it grows from about $600,000 in 28 in that range. I mean, 28, 29 up to $1 million. If Walmart is able to achieve what it thinks are going to be relatively significant sales increases. And what happens in the town is a direct reduction to the cities. And we modeled it that way in our analysis, even though I think that the impact is obviously going to be broader than just the city. But when we were doing things for the city, we wanted the people to see this is what we think the worst it could be for the city. And since the city uses it for the local option tax for kind of non-budget operating things, it uses it to cover shortages in their, for example, their retirement programs. They use it to repair sidewalks and streets so that they don't have to have that spill over into the budget. But they don't use it, for example, to fund police coverage and things like that. So it's a little bit different than the town. And so that kind of a number on the local option sales tax, I think, should give you comfort that saying yes to the applicant will cover you fiscally. And it may even, I think it's probably going to give you some additional fiscal capacity in order to keep the tax rate low for a longer period of time than it would have been without them. I can get into the nitty-gritty details of the population effects. I did that with the Regional Planning Commission because they wanted to do it. I made the point on those population, school kids, and also the jobs, that I think that the project will be helpful because if you look at the population, long-range population projections, they're down. So that'll help with a community to kind of cuts it. Otherwise your status quo population change cuts the decline in half, we estimate. On the school side, we know that it's not a property tax thing anymore. It's what you get for the per pupil amount from the state. We used Governor Scott's base amount per pupil, which has already been rejected and they're going to spend more. Mm-hmm. So again, that's why we're conservative, even on the school stuff. So that's why at some point in time, David, we're probably going to have to update it before we go before the district commission. And thank you. We have another year of actual activity that we can bring to bear on this. So that's really all I wanted to do from 40,000 feet. If you want to get 40,000 feet, if you want to get into the details, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
So maybe we're down to like 10 or 5,000 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have estimated what's going to happen with the local option tax. For the sake of this discussion, I guess we will take your at your word. That's the best estimate. We don't. I mean, that's based on information we're not privy to. So,
well, I don't have any more privyness to information on that front than you do.
So you're taking. Well, okay. So
Yeah.
what did you use then?
The sales that Walmart thinks they're going to achieve at the store.
That's
so
the
that's-
55% increase over what they're doing now.
Yeah, I think it's something like that.
So, and then you've asserted that there's going to be a surplus, with respect to municipal services.
Mhm.
And I did not see where you said what you're assuming our costs will be in that regard.
Yeah, there's a table that has all that.
Okay, well, so maybe I missed it. 'Cause
On the
those are
municipal,
microscopic and hard to read in here. So,
Yeah, I understand. I
if you
understand.
can point us to
Um,
where that is.
So there it is.
Table 6, I think, and that is on page.
And see the stuff about the school population, that's the table 6 that I threw on page 23. My main concern,
Oh, there it is, table 11 on page 30. And it's a very highly detailed table, I understand.
so,
And there's two effects on the municipal side. There's a residential effect and there's a non-residential effect. And the residential effect is an artifact of the population response that we estimate will end up in the town. And that's an allocation from the countywide impact down to all the individual municipalities, including the city, and we did it for all the other municipalities. We assume that a new housing unit will come into existence for every 2.3 people, because that's the size of the number of people per every housing unit in the community, and we carry that forward. And you can see that we have estimates of the municipal tax rate. Started at 21 cents in year one, which is 2025. And it goes up to 0.23, which is about 1% increase per year, which I already know are low,
so what is that based on?
It's an assumption that lots of municipal grand lists grow by about 1% per year. In my hometown it does. In my previous town it did. And that's just a long run conservative assumption. It can go up
Those were
faster.
both in Chittenden County.
What's that?
Those were both in Chittenden County.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
My
This is Rutland.
concern is really more on the expense side. Is there a place where you're taking into account when we're talking about like our ability, because we're being asked municipal impact, right?
Yes.
So our ability to provide
It's per
municipal
person.
services.
It's per person on the residential side. There's a per person amount, which is about $800 per person for a residential effect. And then for the non-residential part of your grand list, it is a function of per $100 of grand list. And I've broken your budget down into fixed and variable costs. And it moves on the variable cost function.
Go ahead.
I'm struggling to even articulate the question. I guess you have data. That's
Your
that
budget.
you're using
Yeah.
but you're projecting an increase in the budget or?
I'm using the last actual data point. And on the cost side, increasing it by a certain amount. That is the consensus between the Scott administration and the Joint Fiscal Office for state and local government inflation. I use that.
Okay, so here's my main concern.
Yep.
Would be policing.
Yep.
Okay, so there's go when we had an active, let's go all the way back when the mall first opened up there.
Mhm.
Town didn't have a police department.
Mhm.
And
You have it now with 4 sworn
the mall
officers, I
at
think.
that time contracted with the sheriff's department. The sheriff
Mhm.
actually had an office
Mhm.
in the building. They were there all the.
Mhm.
So in the intervening years, Rutland Town has slowly developed and built up its department. At the same time that the mall was declining and closed. So we don't really have an experience of having a lot of commercial activity there in recent years with the department that we have now, which in its peak of 5 officers briefly before we had now entered a period of flux, and we're about to be down to 3 until we can fill some open positions. So we're trying to be right now is 5,
Mhm.
but our chief can speak to this, but he's done a little looking around at the state of where other, like, where other Walmarts are located, what comparable sized towns there are. We're already in a situation where we have more commercial, we have a disproportionate amount of commercial activity in the town relative to number of residents. And that's going to grow more. So we're concerned about our ability to provide adequate police service there with the size department we have. And I guess this is a part of question for Walmart too, as to what they're expecting for services, but seems likely that that's going to be an impact that we may have to expand our department in order to meet the activity demand on there, which we anticipate be similar to the plaza that's, the other side of Route 7, which is a major focus of our
I'd
work
like
right
to
now.
have Bob Sizemore just describe the experience with the store presently, because I attended a meeting with Bo and the asset protection team, as well as I forget which officers were in attendance, but I believe we had officers in attendance.
Yes.
So
Can I interrupt for
sure.
a minute, please? We did hear this, and I went through the application looking for what Walmart was going to impose upon itself for internal policing and security and all of that, and when they would be calling on the town, and I didn't see any of that detail.
I didn't expect it to be in the application, as I don't think it's necessary for any of the criteria.
Ability to serve? Because we need to
Well-
know how often our police department is going to be hauled there. And we do have
Right.
stats from the city that we were able to get, and there's in excess of 400 calls a year to
Well,
the
I'll let
present
Bo address
location.
that, but in terms of, we would not include specific documentation about asset protection procedures and personnel. That I would not.
And
That I wouldn't
I'm
expect in an
not sure
application.
I was looking for that kind of detail because you don't want to share your
No,
security
that we're not
plans.
gonna do, but in terms
However-
of number of service calls,
Yes.
Bo can certainly speak to that.
What I can tell you right now, I mean, in terms of active calls we have from Walmart specifically, because a lot of calls from speaking is to the plaza.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily our location every time. But right now I can tell you in the last 4 months, we've had to call personally at maximum once a month. So it's been 0 this month. I think the most often calls we'll frequently see when we have an officer on site is for stolen credit cards, and usually that's a customer calling, report in so they can come pick up that information. That's not an active call to respond to any sort of incident happening in the store.
I don't think it corresponds with the city department's view
Yeah.
of
Yeah, so
what their calls are for.
we
so.
have to log everything on our side from a compliance standpoint. But from terms of any staff calling the police to respond to a specific incident, is, I mean, like, I've seen it all the way up to 10 times in a month, but nothing outlandish. From my point of view, I personally have not called them 400 times, or any one of my staff. They report directly that to me. But are you talking in just general calls? Are you talking for arrests or stolen merchandise? I can get a little more specific if it helps any in the situation.
That's all calls, as I understand it, but Chief, you want to speak to that?
So from a policing standpoint, it doesn't matter who calls. We're called to, and your address is 90 Shopping Plaza Road. When we looked at the data, we typed in 90 Shopping Plaza Road. We were populated with, I think it was 470 calls. It doesn't matter who calls.
Absolutely.
We're going.
Gotcha.
And the Walmart might not be an employee. It could be a third party, but it doesn't matter. We have to go. So talking about response to the parking lot, because they are one and the same.
Gotcha.
It doesn't matter who calls us.
Mhm.
That's what we're trying to get across is
I gotcha.
that's what we're looking at.
Okay.
You're at
That gives a
300
lot better. Yeah.
you're looking at 300 spots roughly for car slots right now
Mhm.
and a 70,000 square foot building.
Yep.
And your application says, I believe it's 751 parking spaces and 180,000 square feet.
Mhm.
The calls, even if they stayed stagnant, that is a massive hit to this department.
Mhm.
Even if it just stayed flat at 470, right now, as you heard the select board, we're gonna be down to 3. Can't deal with that. We just can't. So that's what I think the point is trying to be made, is the impact it's going to have on the town police department moving forward. Not that we're saying that we don't want Walmart, we want to make this work, but there's absolutely going to be an impact to the department. And it might not be Walmart's, Walmart, like you said, you may have called once, but in total, I can tell you that more than once a month that Walmart is calling. On my way in tonight, Walmart was calling about something. So it's something that we're going to have to deal with.
No, absolutely. Yes, sir.
So, and that's what we're trying to make as part of this impact questionnaire.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, the dynamic's gonna be different. It's different locations. It's gonna be a standalone store. You're not gonna have
5 or
same-
6 other
same
businesses.
neighborhood and establishments around, so. It's all speculative on our part right now, but if we speculate. 3 officers isn't gonna cover it, about a 24/7 department, so. I might
I
wanna,
got one
we
question.
could use some feedback on what Walmart's gonna expect for responses and, I don't know, if the state police are gonna. Fill in at all, if the sheriff lead capacity contract, but that's what used to happen with the balls.
So
For their own-
in our prior meeting, we did discuss third-party security. Obviously, right now we use Sensor. Again, it works, I believe, on a yearly basis, but when we move in a new location, the intent is to carry that contract over, whether it be at the sheriff's department, like the mall previously had, or another third-party security tab to help with the conjunction of that. Now, I know nothing is in the works right now, obviously with it being so far out, but that's the intent currently.
The third party stuff doesn't, maybe it helps you with loss prevention, doesn't seem to help. With actual policing, because what they do is they're gonna call our guys.
So,
And we're gonna
yeah.
have to respond.
So the city actually did contact me recently about if that contract was to ever come to bid again. Right now, it's not currently. They were interested in picking that up. So I've spoken to my market asset protection manager about opening that up for rebid when it comes time for that. Obviously, it's not now, so that is something we would prefer, is to have obviously a police officer on duty to fulfill that. Now, a year in 2028, will they still be able to bid on that? I have no idea. And I still have to partner with my market team on the Walmart side of things to make sure that's still going to go in place. But currently, yes, that's something we would prefer and are looking to pursue. If that would help, having, obviously, if it's the city or the sheriff's department at that time, response.
Yeah, I mean, the sheriffs can actually investigate and arrest people.
Absolutely.
Sensor can't do that.
So when essentially from an Act 250 standpoint, they're looking at an impact to a negative impact to the town would be services are going to cost more than what the income of that building is going to be to the town, correct?
That would be your argument, yes.
So we're tripping over $1 pick up a nickel, guys. We're talking about $1 million in 1% money. We can double the size of our police department and still be ahead. So I know as a town, yes, we got some stuff we have to figure out, but from an Act 250 standpoint for this mall, there is no impact on the town.
We have the responsibility to sign off on the municipal impact questionnaire and say we have the ability to serve in each of our departments. We are looking at the police department and saying, right now, we're not sure we have the ability to serve.
Yeah, but we're gonna have the income to offset that.
Doesn't mean there's not an impact, it just means it might cover it, but we have to answer the questions.
Yeah, well, there's
Right.
always an impact to progression of the town. But we're gonna say that we need to pilf more money out of Walmart when they're gonna be paying us millions of dollars more in taxes?
I'm not saying.
We're not
anything,
saying
just
that.
trying to assess
Come
the
on.
Well,
situation.
that's what we're sitting here arguing about. Like,
They've asked us for our approval on the municipal impact questionnaire. We're raising a legitimate issue about our ability to police.
and
And we've had this discussion. We
that's
were
an
in on that
internal
meeting.
issue. That's an issue that we need to figure out, but that's not a Walmart issue.
Well, it's how do we do a contract? Do we make sure that we have language in the permit as the old one had about policing provided by the sheriff's department by a contract? Those this is not new stuff. That had been provided in the previous, and that's why we've called on it, as you'll well remember. We called on that and we asked for enforcement of that because it was really important. So we're, the state of our police department right now.
Yep.
And we're trying to protect the town. We're not denying that this will be a good revenue source, both on 1% and on increased value for our grand list. But there is an impact, and that's what we've got to be assured.
My
that we're
question is,
covering.
while we're sitting here talking, what can Walmart do that's going to help us fund our police department?
Mhm.
They don't need to write us a check. They're gonna be writing us checks every single
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
So there's nothing more to talk about. There's no impact. I mean, there's impact internally that we need to figure out, but Walmart's not gonna negatively be impacting the town of Rutland as a whole. It's only going to be good. It's only going to be income. It's only gonna lower the tax rate. So there's no negative impact to the town of Rutland.
There will be, because if we have to respond, and the question is the balance between the projected revenues and what the cost is. But there will be a cost to the town, and that is providing police services up there. We've already seen it.
But it's not a negative cost, Mary, because it's
It is.
offset by the
Well,
tax income.
it is a cost, and then we have to analyze whether it is offset sufficiently by the increased revenue. And that's why we're asking these questions. We're not anti-development. We're trying to figure out if the police department is called once a day, because that's what the numbers are sounding like down there. They're not serving residents, taxpayers in other parts of the town. And that's what we have to be aware of and make sure that we're covering.
By the way, we
Yeah.
have to plan the budget for that. If we determine we have to hire X number of officers, we have to actually budget for that and raise the money for that, regardless of what comes in for revenue and when it comes in. So yes, down the road, we expect and we hope that there will be a positive, particularly in light of the option tax revenue, but we're gonna have to do the hiring anyway. So,
Yeah.
and then see what happens. So we
There's
still have
also-
to plan for it, and that's why we're asking the questions.
There is also a trickle down effect in police coverage in this area that where if our town police department can't pick it up, the state police will. The town's still gonna have to deal with backlog,
Well, we do.
but if there's not gonna be a shooting down there, nobody's gonna show up. There's not gonna be a violent crime and nobody's gonna show up
Mhm.
because our police department can't staff it.
I think it would help from a municipality standpoint. I think you will see with a larger business, you'll see more calls, but you'll
Yeah.
probably see lesser than the 480, with it just being one business in that location. But if you would like to come down, we can go through our whole internal system and show you when we queue for calls and what the like, and that's something we could set up.
I know we've talked about that, and I don't know if anybody's side, especially when it's cheap and it's in that situation.
Right.
Absolutely. It wasn't like, we wanted to do it, unfortunately, it did fall by the wayside. So
Okay.
we want to take you up.
So,
We're trying.
no, whatever's best for you. We're there, absolutely.
I don't want to sound insensitive to our police officers either. I mean, I know it is going to be a challenge. Like it will be a challenge for them. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
say it's not, but the revenues are gonna way outcome any expense that the town's gonna incur. So at that point, like we're moving forward here, guys. This is more income.
Kurt, we
I'm just
have
saying
moved
cheaper
forward. We
taxes.
have met as departments with these folks, with Mr. Gregg. We are not dragging our feet. We have moved forward. We've done meetings, we've done, they've been very good about getting information to us. We've had these sorts of meetings. We're not dragging our feet. We're disappointed that the demolition didn't happen, which raises the whole encampment issue for another year. So
I don't
that's-
blame him one bit for the demolition. Where is he gonna get the funding to demolish a mall that's
Well,
gonna cost $7 million?
It was
He needs-
represented that it would have
He
happened by
needs a
now.
signed
and it didn't.
contract from Walmart and an approved Act 250 permit, so Walmart can get him some money so
That
they can
is
tear down.
not what he said initially.
Yeah.
So,
The,
okay, so back on track, please. What other questions do we have? I think the police chief is going to be visiting with Bo okay, but that will be helpful. We did also look at, or Chief Washburn looked at other municipalities with police departments where Walmart was present. And those were large police departments. One was what, 12 officers?
Which is the smallest, Bennington PD has 20. And then the one it says it's in Newport, but it's actually Derby. So it's covered by the Rutland County Sheriff's Department predominantly.
Okay,
State police. The
okay,
state police barracks. The lieutenant got back to me. They have 12 troops, 3 detectives, 2 admin staff, and then his position.
okay.
So
Do they have contracts, any of them?
none of them have a contract.
Okay,
Ticonderoga, New York might be another one to look at too. Community wise, they're similar-ish stuff.
okay, good.
So
Yeah.
based on the issue that have plagued Rutland Town Fire Department or the entire existence of the fire department is when GE moved into down on Rowe. And they currently have a contract with the City of Rutland Fire Department. And that has been a problem. It has caused confusion and difficulties, and I would not promote a contract between Walmart and the city police department, because we'll be in the same boat. Who's in charge? Who gets the call first? What goes on? And I spent 45 active years with the fire department dealing with this. So that is just something to think about.
Like, I don't think we were talking contract with the city.
I thought that's what you were mentioning with a contract with it.
They have reached out about our bidding
Right.
process, but currently there are no
I know there isn't any, but I would tell you right now that I personally would be opposed to that happening in town again. It creates an administrator, a problem with, this, who gets, there's always delays. I mean, we do have a full-time police department, which is a little different than a volunteer fire department. And they are available, but we are not a 24/7 police department at this time. And so I can see some stumbling blocks to that. In reality, I do believe that given the impact of this and the potential for calls, our PD would probably have to expand by at least 2 officers. Do you agree, Ted? Minimum? Yeah. I think that this is reality. So, yes, the income is there, and I do believe that, that will be beneficial. It will probably offset our expenses to provide adequate police protection. But for us to say this doesn't have any impact on the town would not be appropriate, because it does. And we will have to expand some services to meet the needs. And probably the town is more than willing to do this. I do have some concerns about the options tax, because sales tax, quite a bit of the merchandise, and I don't know the percentages, but I do believe that sales tax is not charged on certain items. I do believe like clothing, groceries, and stuff like that. So for one establishment to generate almost we just probably 2/3 of what we just received in option tax for 1 year. I find that I'm a little skeptical of those numbers, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of stuff at Walmart that won't be taxable and is not subject to the options tax. So I would take some of that under consideration, because the entire of this town and all of the business, Home Depot, Harbor Freight, and all of those other businesses are generating 1.6 million per year. And I don't believe this one establishment. So I'd make the board aware those numbers might not be quite as lucrative. I would hope they would be, because then we could do this. But and there's something here, and I don't know if this is a place to do it, but I guess I can't not keep my mouth shut. But is Walmart aware of the ad valorem and the situations with the city? Are they aware of what's going to happen here when you build this store in Rutland Town? You're looking at me, David, like you have no clue what I'm talking about.
Do you mean what will their decline in revenue be?
No,
No.
there is a standing agreement. Walmart will have water and sewer service from Rutland City. The water rate and the sewer rates are more than the city rates by a substantial amount. And there is also a 20% property tax. So for 10 years, am I right, Mary?
10 years.
10 years, Walmart will be paying 120% of its property tax, 100% to the town and 20% to the city in order to have water and sewer. And this is something that, and I'm not trying to chase you guys away, but when you're putting this kind of money and this kind of insight into this, I don't want you guys to get to the point of getting ready to sign contracts and this comes out and all of a sudden it's like, this is a deal breaker.
Well, just, Craig, are you on?
Something to add to your city revenue side.
Craig?
Right, that's true.
So can you just address the issue of the store and what municipal services it will be receiving from the city of Rutland?
So the city of Rutland sells water to the town, which the town then provides to Walmart. So the city is providing water for the town's benefit to sell to Walmart. And similarly with the sewer, the sewer main and pump station is technically in the town and then discharges to the city's system. So what's being described is not incorrect as far as the agreement between the city and the town. And that is an accurate description of how the facility will be served municipal sewer and water.
Yeah, but are you aware of the rates
And the ad valorem.
and the ad valorem tax?
I understand that there are rates that you guys charge for the water and that Walmart will.
No,
This is above.
the city of Rutland, and Dave, you knew, or maybe a little, but I believe the water rate is 4 times.
The rate times 4, yes.
Yeah, and then
It's 5,
and the sewer rate is even more,
it's even more.
right? And this is
No, the sewer rate is 5.
5, and the city is, and water is even,
Water's a little bit more.
water a little bit more. So even though the town basically buys water from the city and sells it, the rate that town residents pay the city for water and sewer, especially business, is more than what the city rates are. And yeah, and there is a 20% ad valorem on the property tax.
I'm not saying that I disagree with what you're explaining.
Right, but no, these are facts and this is agreement. And so in any business that moves into town and any new stuff for 10 years, that new business is subject to this. And like I say, I just want to make sure you guys are
Right, and that would be an operating cost.
right. That could come up and bite you if you're not.
I will defer to Walmart.
Yeah.
To the extent that it might feel the pain.
Well, right.
But it is, but you know, it has not been within my area of responsibility to understand specifically what they get charged for their water and sewer. But I also believe that Walmart is able to manage that issue successfully. And, you know, the rate is what the rate is. And if they're not going to develop their own on-site water and sewer, which I don't think they're going to be doing, then they will need to pay what they pay.
Right.
I can say is the P&L holder for the downtown Rutland Walmart. Can't give you numbers obviously here. But we pay our bill, we turn a profit.
But that's Rutland City. So you are a Rutland City resident in Rutland City. Your water rate, your sewer rate are different. You're a Rutland Town resident in business, your water rate and your sewer rate are going to be different. And you're going to pay 20% more in property taxes for 10 years. That building would say it's going to be $1 million in taxes for round numbers. It's going to be 1.2 million for 10 years. And that's an operating cost that somebody needs to know about. And I just can't sit here in this room and not bring this up and make sure that you guys are aware of everything.
Okay.
And Diamond Run was subject to this, and Harbor Freight just moved into town 4 or 5 years ago.
Mhm.
They're subject. They're partway
Right.
through it. So
So
I mean, it is doable, but just so you know.
All right.
And I don't, um, mostly when I'm evaluating the fiscal impact criteria of Act 250, what you're concerned about is whether your proposed application is going to impose debits, not credits. So if the city plans to charge more because Walmart moves to the town, then in the fiscal impact analysis, that's benefiting a municipality. So
Benefiting the city.
it's benefiting the city, right? And just to be fair, setting aside what's the limit of the analysis, I'll assume that both the town of Rutland and the city of Rutland could assert through the fiscal impact criteria, and this kind of goes back to what you were discussing before, not just an impact, because I think we can all agree there's an impact, but from my perspective, the analysis is to what extent, if at all, is the impact, you could say, unreasonable or unduly adverse, right? Any development under any standard of evaluation, aesthetics, noise, water, traffic, fiscal, right, will have an impact. It's just a question of whether that impact is so severe that either it can't be mitigated or it needs special conditions. So I think in terms of Jeff's overall analysis, my understanding, the summary understanding is that in this instance, we believe it's highly likely that the credits will successfully outweigh the debits. And if I manage to correctly say that after taking just a 2-credit accounting course, I will consider it a success.
I mean, I don't believe this is an undue impact myself on the town as far as knowing whatever. We've had a retail establishment there for a number of years that was absolutely fine. Was not a financial success is why it's gone. Hopefully Walmart can move in there sooner rather than later and be a financial success and stay there. I just, if there's things that they aren't planning for that could deter from that financial success, then that's unfortunate, but I don't want to see that happen. So I think this, like I said, there will be an impact on the town. Can we get around that impact? I believe so.
Just one, if I could clarify one point, the comparable to the $1 million, the 1.6 million that you heard here tonight is more like 700,000. That 1.1 million is out in the 2030s.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
But I'm just saying,
I understand. There is an adjustment for non-taxable retail sales,
Yeah.
but you now giving me an opportunity to go back to the store and give me a little more detail. So maybe we can refine it.
Yeah.
So
sorry to
I
interrupt.
think maybe you were just answering my question, but I'm not sure I understood it. So your projection on to Joe's point, your projection on the option tax future revenue is based on sales tax producing sales, or
Yes.
Okay, so you've got enough data from them to know what's exempt from this.
I haven't gotten as much as I would like.
So you might be able to get an update and send us
I
a
could.
petition.
I'm going to try.
Great.
Everything, look, the point of this, it's a long-term forecast. Okay. It's a long-term estimate of things, and it gives you a directional signal. Okay. And Act 250, it's not no impact. It's not an undue impact and burden on the ability to provide essential municipal services. And I hope you didn't think I was coming here saying there was no impact. I wasn't saying that. I'm saying you're going to have the fiscal resources to absorb the impact, and I think it will give you a little bit more than that. And that was the point of doing the report and trying to present it to you.
So Jeff, you were absolutely spot on about one of your projections. And that was when we talked before the meeting started that the half hour was going to turn into an hour. So
I have,
The rest of it's not good, Mary.
it's not my first rodeo.
So Attorney Greg, what else do we have tonight? Or is this a wrap for now?
I think this is a wrap for now, other than for me to ask you, when do you anticipate being in a position to take a vote on the municipal impact question?
Right, fair enough. Matt and I were talking before you were here, and you heard the little exchange here about the police chief talking with Walmart folks. And the police committee needs to meet. We do have some of the information that Ted provided about other departments and the numbers from the city on their number of calls. So that's something we're going to want to drill down on. So we need at least a couple of weeks to get that information, to have that meeting, and for Matt, I'm pointing to Matt because Matt and I are the police committee for the select board, to get and sit down with Ted and go over and just do the numbers again. I mean, 2 additional officers, how are we going to do that? What's it going to look like? And frankly, what happens if we lose those 2 officers? I mean, it happens to municipalities all the time. And then is there a fallback available for Walmart if we just don't have the police officers to cover because we're down to us?
Be in the same position we're in right now. Or we'll be you'll be looking, I mean, attrition is
But
happening.
having a fallback plan might be a good idea.
So, I mean, they're not that easy to hire and they're
Harder to
easy to
find.
find. So if Walmart has any feedback for us about what they're hoping we're gonna feel, that would be helpful. I don't know if that's
Yes.
something I even thought about, but if we're just down to 3 officers and the thing's open and you're calling state police, that works for you, then I guess we're good. But
What I can tell you, so I've been in Vermont about 5 years now, and I've worked in all the Vermont locations, with the New Hampshire one.
Okay.
So Derby was brought up earlier. I worked in Derby, so when they do have issues, they do contact the state police. So if we usually try to contact the local municipality about once a month, just to, touch base, feel in it. If it was communicated, hey, we're down 2 officers, and we knew that, then we would field our calls proportionally. Also, we would make sure the calls were, if you were down 1 or 2, we're probably not going to call you for the ranking stuff as well. So we can definitely partner that way, but we would call the state at that standpoint. If you said, hey, we're not going to have any officers this time frame while we're short staffed, we would definitely redirect to our next option. And then also, hopefully, with a 3rd-party contract going in to this new building, we have, whether it be a sheriff or another municipality, an officer on site at that time as well, so they could supplement a little bit.
That's helpful.
do you have any idea when you might know about the 3rd-party contracting situation might be?
I can't tell you specifically. What I would assume is that we probably wouldn't even get into that contract until we had an Act 250 permit sign off.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, I can't speak on behalf of Derby, although Derby doesn't have a police department, the town of Derby, right? Which is why the state police cover that.
Right.
Outside of any contracted hours they have with the Orleans County Sheriff's Department. We have a police department. The state police policy is they only go to active crimes, right? And retail theft does and doesn't fit that for them. So they're not, and I'm very close to the state police, right? And I'm not saying this to knock them. They're not the greatest resource to rely on for this type of thing. If we have a police department, just because we're down doesn't mean that they are going to, fill our ranks for us. That's not how that works at all.
Absolutely.
They're just going to hold the calls. And we're going to have to, fill
So
those.
in a situation like that, I probably wouldn't be calling for retail theft, to be honest with you. I'd be calling for an incident. We have our own internal asset protection team that operates at store level, where we log all these incidences, and if there's organized retail crime or just a frequent flyer, whatever it might be. At some point, when the staffing was adequate again, we'd reach out and say, hey, here's what we've built against this person, or here's what we've seen going on. But if it was an emergency call, we would reach out to them.
Sure. We can't rely on them because we have a police department. Their policy is that they wouldn't necessarily involve
And this
crimes,
is
violence thing. along those lines.
absolutely, yes, sir. This is so far out for us, just in time frame wise. I haven't even been in talks with my market asset protection team to give you a good scope of what that contract would look like currently with the square footage. But I can definitely reach out and have this information provided in the next 2 weeks, so that would be a lot more helpful for you.
Okay, that would be helpful.
Because I can tell you right now, it's 7 days a week, opening to close, so 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. So our current service is.
Okay. Right. Anything else? Any other questions from select board members? Okay. Anything else? Your team?
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thanks for coming down.
Thanks,
All right. Hey, Sears.
I think I forgot why I was here.
Thank you for your time, everyone. You have a great evening.
Good night.
Good night, folks.
Thank you, Mary.
Some stuff, right?
Oh, I'm just, basically because he's suffered as much as I have, thought maybe we could jump to E, so Robert could do his thing and get out of here.
Oh, yes. All right, action item E, board to review bids received for the Stratton Road culvert and discuss the awarding the contract. Okay, now we have,
Welcome aboard.
yeah.
Apologize for my appearance. I was thinking that was going on earlier and I was coming from another project and it's been a day, so.
Thank you, engineering.
Well, maybe Mary, I can just kind of go ahead and give a quick summary on
Yes, please.
what we.
Tell us what we're looking at. Which
Yeah,
one
sure.
we should be looking at.
Sure. So I was hired, we talked several months ago about doing a procurement process, which had a public bid process for the installation of the new box culvert on Stratton Road. And then there's the actual purchase of the culvert. So when we talked at the committee level, we discussed the need to get quotes from V-Trans qualified precasters. We did that. On the cover letter, we identified that the qualified precaster that could meet the town's schedule needs was Michi Corporation. They can deliver the structure roughly in mid-September. It's contingent on a reasonable timeline to issue that contract award to them. The bid price from Michi was $159,045.00. That aligns fairly closely with the estimate that they had given us a few years ago, scaled up relatively small amount.
We approved all of that. We
Yeah,
approved the purchase,
I think
so
you
we're good
did.
on that.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that was the first piece. And then the
Yes.
second piece was we needed a contractor to install it, right? And
Right.
so we put out a public bid process. This bid review is what I would consider a standard process for us at Otter Creek. We get hired to do municipal infrastructure projects all the time. We have oftentimes get what we refer to as bid irregularities or issues with different bids that come in, from typo errors to missing forms. I had a bid in Middlebury the other day where contractor actually used sheets from another project and put them in their packet, sent it in. So it happens all the time.
Yeah.
A couple of key points. KT Hathaway Construction was the apparent low bidder as read aloud at the meeting. There were some errors in the way that the bid form was filled out. So a bid sheet has a unit price, which is a per unit item, and then there's a total price. And a mistake was made where the total price was actually put on the unit price. And so when we multiply that out, it comes out to a higher dollar amount. In the bid documents themselves, it identifies that errors like that will be resolved in the discrepancy of the words that they're put in. So I'm not allowed to make a judgment call on intent. I have to simply just look at what the contract says. And so based on that, it adjusts their price up to a higher amount. For the purpose of this discussion, we reached out. I've never had the opportunity to work with Waters Excavation in the past. They were the second low bidder. They had a complete bid in the sense that their bid didn't change from what was read aloud, but it's significantly higher than KT Hathaway's price for the work. I reached out to their listed references, checked their references. I got conflicting reviews. This is a first for me. I'm so used to working in Rutland and working with contractors that I've had the pleasure of working with for 16 years. So I called, one of the towns I called was East Montpelier. I talked to the town manager and I talked to the road foreman. The town manager had positive things to say about the project, and the road foreman gave me some pretty blunt, honest review of how the project went. Neither one of those reviews would be enough for me to tell you whether or not they were actually qualified to do the work. I think they gave us a qualification statement. They've done some large structure replacement. They've worked as a subcontractor to Pike Industries and Kabricki Construction. So I think they're capable of doing it. I think the town's decision, and I sat here for the last hour and a half listening to this whole discussion. which started with a lack of revenue coming in and ended with a discussion on the Walmart component. To me, these are bid irregularities. At the end of the day, this is the town's public bid process. The town has the right to waive an informality. A bid informality could result in a claim from a contractor that felt like they were not given a fair opportunity. And the other piece is, when we have had towns waive that, contractors may or may not bid future work if they feel like it's, something that you don't take seriously. So,
Also, I would assume the town has the option of rejecting any or all.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And so mine was more of an impartial review of, factually how the bids came in. I think either one of those contractors is capable of doing the work, and it's really a question of, do you want to waive the informalities and have a contract negotiation with the low bidder because they were significantly less in installation costs than the second bidder? Or, do you want it, potentially reviewed by the town's attorney or something else before you make that award? I just simply wanted to write you a factual letter of how the bids came out.
Now, because KT Hathaway is Kurt is recusing himself from any discussion and any vote, so we should. Yeah, there is.
Be surprised how often that happens.
Well, small towns.
It's Vermont, right?
Yeah, small towns. Joe.
I guess, my concern is, I'm not concerned about, I guess, doing the work or Waters doing the work. My concern would be, you said there was some irregularities in the way it was, the unit from one format to the other, and it came out.
So to be blunt about it, the biggest issue probably is the fact that the way the contract reads.
Yeah.
There's a bid form that's filled out. You put in a numerical value. So let's say the bid is $100,000, and then you write that out as a unit item, $100,000 in words. When the unit is more than one, so one unit, $100,000. If it's two units and you wrote $100,000 out, it'd be $200,000. Well, the mistake was that the total was actually written there, not the unit price. And so that $200,000 total now gets multiplied by 2 and becomes 400,000. And it scales the whole bid up.
Mm.
It was clear to me that that was not the intent, right? It's very clear to me that because it was consistent on every line, and it was just a simple error really in how that it was filled out. But when those contracts are put together, in case contractors make errors, which happens on almost every single bid I do, that it can be fairly resolved, and the wording just simply says it's resolved in the words as they're written there, not the numerical values. So that was the issue. That's what scaled the bid up. There were some missing pieces of paper too. There's a requirement to just demonstrate that you're a registered business in Vermont. That is something that often gets missed, and towns will waive it and ask for that to be provided prior to a contract signing. The project is 100% payment and performance bonded for the work that's being done. And, there's insurance requirements and stuff in there that cover and protect the town too. It's more about, that piece. There is a significant cost difference. So between 183,000 and 255, that's a substantial increase. I think I included in the packet, and I don't think Bill got it because I sent him a packet that had all of the bids in it. And there was one other sheet in there, which was just a summary of the project costs, which included like the engineering. It included your contingency moving forward. Obviously, if you took the lower bid, you'd have more contingency. We were already talking about using, highway funds to cover, the town's share of that anyway. So it's really up to you all on how you want to vote to proceed. I just wanted to give you all the information as the results came.
Any of the missing documents vital to the bid to the point where you'd be concerned about the work being done properly or anything?
No.
Okay.
So this number that's on here for Hathaway at 399, is that
That's
the mistaken number or the correct number?
that's the corrected number. So the original bid was 183 and those numbers added up correctly on his total. They didn't add up when you multiplied them out. So I think the 183 would be valid. You'd have to verify that at a later date, but when we did the corrections, it came out to the 300 number.
Okay.
Okay.
For the comparable amount of services that the others bid on.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the not to toot an engineer's horn on it, but one of the benefits of doing it through a public process is everybody is bidding the same thing. They have to bid
Yes.
the same specs, they have to bid the same plans. And really it comes down to every job always comes down to a contractor's assessment of risk and reward. And that's, some contractors think projects are more complicated and they're concerned that, it might rain 28 days out of 30 days like it did this past May and be a real difficult job. And they include in their costs, and other people are more comfortable with a project. Every project is different, but that is usually the biggest difference, Mary, is just their assessment of how that job is going to go. Because the most expensive part of these projects is the machines that sit there to do the work. And, it's all just time and how long it takes to get it done.
And back to the feedback you got about waters. Was that sufficient for you to look at the next low bidder?
So we, just want to make sure I have that information. We did look at, the next low bidder.
Yeah.
Sure, I don't have. So what I'll say is I have, worked with the next low, I worked with a few of the other bidders, that were on the list. Pretty much including Waters, they had good references too. They just had some conflicting, usually when you're an engineer and somebody submits a qualification statement, they don't pick the bad references.
I found that to be true.
And so that's usually an interesting thing when you get a review that has some pretty honest feedback, because usually they don't list them. I think that is more a product of their lack of just total project by themselves. They gave us some ones that they've done completely by themselves, and maybe they weren't glowing recommendation, but are they capable of doing the box culvert? I would say yes, and I stated that in the letter to you all.
And you remain on the project to oversee this and ensure compliance and all of that.
Yeah, regardless, so we have it's a part-time, inspection to go through and see, check the work, make sure that it's ready to go before it's set and everybody's on the same page, and ensure the town's interest with, how the site's restored.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're comfortable that you could do that?
With either one of those contractors.
Okay.
Actually, I should say with anybody that was on that list, just based on my past experience. I think the town got a lot of interest. There were more people at the pre-bid meeting. But there was obviously a lot of interest in the project, and they're capable of doing this work.
And so your engineer's opinion, that's what you do, and you come up with the number as well?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's what we did for the basis of your grant award.
Okay.
And that was what we did for, the discussions that the town had, the funding to move forward with the project, really.
So what's your pleasure, folks? Joe, do you have a recommend for us?
Well, based on the dollar amounts, and the missing items are, to Robert's, wouldn't affect the things that I guess I'm okay with a low bid. Kurt's bid of, or KT Hathaway of 183. That's what he submitted the bid, and if Kurt loses his shirt in the process, that's on what I'm saying is the documents that are missing, the qualification and that,
No man left behind.
no man left behind. I guess I'm okay with it, because there's nothing missing here that would jeopardize the project.
I think you'd want to clarify.
Right.
the intent, right? Because I can't make any assumptions about what was prepared.
And is it irregular for us to do that and not give the same opportunity to someone else to ask for clarification? This is where I'm, because,
okay.
you know what I'm, you know what I'm saying?
There weren't other errors that resulted in the mathematical change, you know, so like if we talk about that out loud, if somebody had failed to submit a form, you know, would you take my recommendation, well, they didn't submit a form, so they're an incomplete bid, or would you ask them for a copy of the form? You know, it's a similar type of question. I would say, you asked me, is that common? It depends. So anything that I do that's state or federally funded, the bid would be rejected. You wouldn't be able to make that decision on your own, because that process gets reviewed by the funding agency themselves. It doesn't get reviewed at the local. Because this is a local project, there's a condition in there that the town can, you know, reject any or all bids that, you know, in the interest of the town. So you could waive an irregularity. It's not a incomplete bid or an issue. You can waive that requirement if you feel like it's in the best interest of the town. I guess is how it's listed in the contract.
So I'm going back many years to basic contract law. And when there's a bid process and one bid is strikingly too low, that it's obvious that there could be something missing, I almost think we're in that position.
Well, there's two parts to that. There's if there was something missing, the bidder has the opportunity to pull their bid back within 5 days of submission. And we actually had that happen on a project where a bidder made a math error on their own form. They were over $500,000 under the next bidder, and I got a phone call saying I'm taking it back within this allowed time frame. Then there's the question of, do we see bids that come in low and get completed without significant change all the time? You know, I think it comes down to a contractor's assessment of risk and reward. We had a bid the other day that my estimate was $750,000. I only got 2 bids. It's a pretty complicated sewer project, very similar to the one that we did this past year with you all. And the low bid was $525,000, and the second bid was $825,000. And that's a $300,000 spread on a $500,000 project. I mean, that's a substantial amount of money. In that case, the contractor confirmed they're comfortable with their numbers, and the town is awarding it to that low bid contractor. So.
And have you asked the low contractor if he is comfortable with his numbers?
I have not. And if the town's direction was to waive the informalities, there would need to be a meeting with the town and the engineer and everybody to understand that, make sure that that was comfortable, and, you know, and then you'd issue a notice of award. You'd want to clarify the bid schedule, because if you signed a contract, it technically says you owe them $390,000.
Yeah.
So that, but Mary, to your point, you know, in contract law, it can be adjusted via change order. So if there's a mutual agreement that that was an error, you just do a change order to correct the form and resolve it.
That's an after the fact. That's once you're in the contract.
That's correct. Or you could do it effective for the signing of the contract too. And you can certainly talk to Kevin about that.
I think we're heading to Kevin on this.
Yeah.
Or do you just take the second lowest bid
We
and
do that.
say, you know, I don't know what those choices.
That. Drawing on your contract law.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I have no experience dealing with bids, so, I mean, I think part of the point is being made here is that we need to be careful to follow process that bidders will respect in the future, that they will still have respect for our process.
Everybody.
That's the most important thing. If it were just up to me, I'd ask the guy that submitted it, what did you mean? And then we figure out what the heck we're doing. But if that's not, you know, that's gonna cause problems down the road, then I wouldn't be inclined to do that. If I'd like to have a contract that has the correct number on it to begin with, and not be forced into a situation where, well, because the bid technically said this, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna try to change it later, doesn't make me feel very comfortable.
No.
So,
Right.
I'm confident that the low bidder intended to do what he thought was best for the town. But, given the obvious, conflicts of interest here, I think probably if we were gonna go in that direction, we probably ought to consult with council to make sure we don't screw stuff up.
We have no motion on the floor.
Would,
What's your advice?
would it be irregular to contact all of the folks that bid on this and ask them would like rebid it based on some misinformation, some technical things, so we gave everybody the same opportunity to make the numbers right?
They didn't have an error.
Hmm?
They didn't have an error.
Okay.
So,
Right,
yeah,
so it's
Should-
hard to do that because they
I'm-
don't have anything correct. Now they've seen everybody's hands.
true.
Right.
Maybe there's
Yeah.
something that's at play there. To Matt's point, it's more a decision, and I would advise you to talk to council about that, if you go that route, just to make sure everybody's comfortable with it. But it's more of a decision of the process, and how we go about doing it and how it is and the town standard for how they do different things.
Mhm.
The bid sheet is different than you guys would have done it if you did it on your own. You would have probably bid it as a single fixed fee. There's unit items in there that allow us to pay the contractor when they do certain components of the work. And anytime you add items, back to the clock conversation this morning, you got this afternoon, you have 2 clocks and one of them has an error. You just remove 1 clock, right? Well, it's the same with engineering. The simpler we can keep it, really, the less chance for error there is, and that's just being honest. But unfortunately, sometimes it's not that easy, and it's better to have the items there to be able to pay the contractor when certain things happen.
The other thing worth considering before we get into it is what happens down the road, who's in charge of oversight and making sure that
Oh,
job is, we're gonna have conflicts with the contractor. Is that more hassle than it's worth for everyone involved?
Mm.
It's not gonna be Dave's job, it'll be his job, I guess, because that doesn't work. So
Are we in any kind of a time crunch at this point to award the contract?
I was just looking at it. So the bids are valid for 60 days.
Okay.
And they were opened on May 7th. So you got 60 days from May 7th to issue the award. We're still waiting on Josh Carbajal to issue the permit anyway.
okay.
So I gotta push on him to get that. I can't really recommend you go forward until he gives that final. But we've had 3 or 4 back and forths with him. It's really just waiting for the paper.
there is a partial state grant for this too, right?
So we have a structures grant for 200,000.
Which brings to mind 2 questions for me. One is there any bidding procedure thing that's implicated with the grant? One. Number 2, what's the timeline on that? If we're not gonna get a culvert before September or something, when are we hoping to actually install this thing, and are we gonna run off timeline?
So I have never had a dealing with V-Trans, who provides that structure grant, related to the administration of the grant. So it's actually probably the easiest program that we work with. They give a town the money, they've already scoped the project, you build the work. It doesn't come with a lot of red tape. It's a really great program as far as just getting things
Pretty
done.
odd for the state.
No, just in general, I mean, it really is. So I wouldn't be able to answer your first question of like, is there some process? I will say that it has to follow, their default is that it has to follow the town's procurement process, which I think we did. We did a public bid process and warned for the appropriate amount of time and so on and so forth. But you could always check with them. The second piece is, we hope to have the answer on the culvert permit. As soon as that comes in, you could purchase the structure with the structures grants, all eligible costs, and get that ordered. That's 156,000 of the grant. And then they're usually fairly reasonable if you're making progress towards the project. Meaning if you came back to them and said, we had a delay in delivery of the structure, or we had 3 weeks of flooding, they can kind of amend those conditions. You'd want to communicate with them, but I think they're often open to extending it as long as you've made progress. If you sat here and said, we don't even have the easements for the project, they would take your money back. But
They gave us an extension on Town Line Road when we did that for paving and all that whole thing. And it was easy. That was an email and they sent me back a thing in like 3 days.
I guess you probably don't want to do these in January, probably don't want to do them.
You're not able to. So you asked about timeline. I mean, you have 60 days to make the decision. That gives you, a couple weeks to get in contact with the legal counsel. Because you bid them separately, the biggest issue was getting the culvert there. So I can't speak for the contractors that bid it. But the rest of the material is just aggregate that they would haul to the site. So, and they knew that they had to work on the project, in this timeline that was presented to them, because we gave the contractors that information that the structure would be available in September and that it had to be done by mid-October. So
But we could touch base with Kevin, to get his take on what would be in our best interest moving forward. We haven't actually ordered the culvert. I think we authorized you to be able to send them drawings and write.
Yep,
and
yep.
that stuff.
Yes.
That's been done.
that's been done. We gave them that. We haven't ordered it. They're supposed to be preparing final shop drawings, which we review to make sure everything was acceptable.
Okay.
And then I'd be able to send you a recommendation to release the order, but they haven't, without that permit, I wouldn't be able to recommend it. So we're still trying to push.
We don't have the permit, so we haven't actually ordered the culvert.
Correct.
So we have a little limbo. We're in kind of this state here where we can have a little time. So
On the one thing for you, they do not want the dry hydrant there. I'll have to prepare something a little more than this discussion tonight, but the existing dry hydrant that's there doesn't meet whatever standard they want. So they've asked that we take that out of the permit, and what they want to put back in is estimated at, $30,000 to $40,000 of components that they want up there. So I'm going to need to send it to you guys to have you look at it, but it kind of caught me off guard. But they will not let us put back what is there. They basically said that's where this whole permit issue has been hung up. There's no grandfather provision. If we touch it, we're taking it out, and you guys can't have it up there unless it meets the new river standard. So.
they sure, like I said, I told you on site that day that
Right.
we went down, put it in there, and the state came, the guy that provided the funds. Yep, it meets all our requirements, and I don't understand what the big bugaboo is about it, but that's not.
I'll send you something separate on that for consideration. I don't have all the details.
And that's not going to be a deal breaker. I mean, we'll put the culvert in and then we'll figure out the portion.
So it sounds like we want to do some exploring with Kevin.
Yeah, I think that we need to, and what our dilemma is and get his best take on to deal with it.
Okay.
And if he needs to talk to Robert,
Yeah.
you're okay with that?
Yeah.
If you have questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then maybe hopefully we can have an answer in 2 weeks, because I'd like to after that.
Yeah.
I just past the second.
The information here, does Bill have all of this so he can just send it up to Kevin? With a note, Mary will call. Okay.
Good. Or on the culvert are separate, I guess.
Well, we did.
We did.
We did.
Subject to
So-
the permit coming through.
And then once the
Yeah.
permit comes through, we can, give them the go ahead to order the culvert.
Oh, so you already.
We haven't ordered it. But we have let, Nietzsche know,
Sort of in the works.
yeah.
It hasn't been.
We gave enough approval so they could work
Right.
on shop drawings.
Shop drawings, yes.
They know that it's coming. They just don't know.
Right.
You're right. And what the drawings will give Robert is they actually understand what's been designed and can construct it properly. And then we should get a firm price on that, or their bid price will be the firm price.
Yeah, I expect that their bid price will be the firm price.
Okay. So the grant, the structures grant covers the concrete anyway. So we're okay there, and we've done that.
That's true. Yeah.
And then we get this thing in the ground hopefully in September. I don't see 2 weeks delaying the project at this point. If we choose tonight or in 2 weeks, I don't see this delaying the project.
The only other thing I would just say, Mary, you asked about costs, right? So
Mhm.
forever, when I estimated box culverts, when they were fairly straightforward like this one, the rule of thumb was whatever the cost of the culvert was, it'd be about 75% more for the installation. So if you had, $150,000 box, it might be a 120 to install it. Be a general rule of thumb. That has gone up, scaled up over the last 4 or 5 years. because the precast and the labor and everything else, but like that pricing that you received is not inconsistent with what we've seen on other municipal projects, you know, across the board, and the scale is not inconsistent either. To go from the very low to the very high, this comes down to how interested a contractor is in it.
Okay. That's good to know. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Robert. Thanks hanging around for the other discussion.
Yeah.
You're well enlightened in the operation of the town.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
I like my eggs over easy. Are we ordering breakfast now?
What's that? Yeah.
I like my eggs over easy. Going back in the fridge.
I gotta ask, you know,
What?
how is it like observing us in action without, never mind.
He was sitting on his tongue.
All right, what else you got?
I'm gonna be extremely quick because there's a committee meeting to talk about, so.
Okay,
Myself and the guys went up to, Barry to Thunder Road, actually. They've put a municipal equipment show, and I made some contacts up there and had some good conversations, and hopefully I'm working my way on making some sort of a salt deal on salt. We got our excavator.
I saw that, we paid for it.
Yeah, it's very nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. So we went to the David, Ruth neighborhood, and we got 7 culverts we gotta replace. Oh, we marked out 7 in general. We've got 2 on Grove Street and 1 on Sugarwood that needs to go out. So we're going full scale.
Oh, is that what the white lines on Grove Street are?
Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to read them. It's hard to read when you're driving by a big safe. Yeah.
We did a crack sealing demo this morning, something that we're kind of looking at for future rental machine, do a little bit of crack sealing, try to keep the asphalt going as long as possible. And I put down, we opened the Stratton Road culvert bid, but I'm pretty sure everybody knows that at this point. And then the rest is you.
That's just me. So, myself, Kurt, Bill, and Dave met on 14th. We reviewed the bids for the culvert replacement, and Robert was not able to attend, so we made no decisions, and that's where we are there. There's still a discussion with this class 3, class 4 quarter line, so I think what we may be ending up doing is just making the quarter line road all class 3. And there's somebody in the state started this process. We have no idea why. And it says that a long time ago, part of it was classified as class 3, and it's like in the middle of the class 4. So it's almost not even worth worrying about, but we're going to move forward with that.
What does that mean? Do we get slightly less revenue?
No. If we make it a class 3, we're going to get about, what was it, Bill? About $300 a year? 320? Yeah. We'll get a little more money, but I look at it this way. We don't have to do anything to the road. We classify it class 3. We get $300 more in the state's aid to highways, the 120, maybe we'll get 123. It just goes toward the grading. Dave rents the grader. He goes up there twice a year, makes them happy. You know, there may be a tick up in winter maintenance. That's the only thing. Class 3 roads are required to be maintained slightly better than a class 4 road. But I don't think it's going to be anything we're going to even notice, because you're maintaining that basically as a class 3 road now. Yeah, it gets plowed and it gets.
And it's weird because there's a part of it, there's that section that got paved, whatever, 10, 15 years ago. And it's designated through the state as class 3 up to a certain point, and then it becomes class 4 still in the paved section, and it goes back to class 3 again.
Yeah.
So there's this weird janky piece of pavement in the middle that's class 4 that is in the middle of class 3. It's like,
so
Somebody didn't write something down.
yeah.
I think it's a clerical error.
So if we just fix it, the lady will stop calling Dave, Bill, and just kind of
Problem solved.
resolve it.
And she might go away.
Sounds like a solution.
There was a little discussion on the Route 7-0 there. The Public Works Mutual Aid Agreement, which is in our packet. I do believe we need to vote on that, and that is one item on our agenda somewhere buried in this desk.
C.
I move that we accept this, Public Works, mutual aid agreement as filled out.
Authorize Mary to sign.
Oh, yes, we need to operate.
Selectboard Chair.
The public works one does not.
Oh,
you get signature lines on her packet, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. And I'd second that. For Mary to sign.
All right. It's in the pink folder.
Yes, it is. Should be.
Says Rutland Regional Planning Commission Public Works Mutual Aid Agreement.
Isn't it?
Well, you left me the local emergency management.
That's different.
That's the second one. There's another one.
Does she have,
Yours.
did she have just the signature page
I
on?
thought so.
Oh, well, if it's just,
Oh, in my packet, I would have had.
yeah, this one,
Oh.
that's just, I think you just had it in your hand. It's this one.
You might be the only one with a back page. Yeah, you might have Mary's copy. Here, Mary, Kurt just provided you.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't need to take a copy home, so sign away.
So basically, and the only things they're added, we added the, drone, and there's a couple of things on the back.
Okay.
It's basically what it's been, so.
So motion's been made and seconded to approve the Public Works Mutual Aid Agreement designated officials form and authorize the chair to sign on behalf. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye, motion carries 4-0. Signing,
So I'll just continue to talk what you're doing.
all righty?
So a private water system operator contacted Dave and wanted to actually wanted to take over the system. And he said, thank you, but no, thank you. No, this is, this is a person that has had this trickle down to him, and he's like,
No pun.
these private water systems are a challenge. And this one's
Not a fire district.
huh?
Not a fire district.
No, this is just a private water distribution system.
A little different.
A little different. And there is, and I don't think they have any issues. This individual just doesn't want to manage this any longer. He's looking for somebody that will. Cause I think there's a lot, well, there's a lot going on. And where this one is, there's no, like, if they did have a water quality issue, there's no real easy fix to getting water there from the city. East
Well,
Criminal.
and there's no easy fix to put a well in.
At everybody's house either, because everything's on a bank in the back and their septics are all in the front, and then
Flow downhill, is that what you're saying? Can't get the septic.
have drill a septic, drill a leach field for a well.
Yeah. So it's one of these where you put in a community system and figure that we're never going backwards, and then we do.
Whoever said no, thank you.
So Dave's looking to upgrade the current paint sprayer to one that will work with better quality paints, and so our striping.
Oh, line striping, I was wondering when that was.
Some
gonna
different
come up.
things that need to be done.
All right,
And we're thinking we'll probably put the other one out to bid, or the current sprayer. There are some towns around that are still using forms and rollers. So we're thinking they might be interested in that.
okay.
And then one of the more interesting things, we were talking about purchasing salt now. And seeing if there's any chance of, doing some stuff, and Dave has been in contact with one of our, our only winter contractor who makes regular trips to Albany
Okay.
and comes back empty.
Oh,
Yeah, so there is a thought that we could, see what kind of price and buy a salt right out of Albany and have it trucked back here. And see what kind of how that might work out. So Kurt and I gave him the go ahead to look into it and see where that might go. We did discuss the weather stations, and for now, we're going to stick with what we planned on. There's some alternatives out there that we thought we'd get a couple of years of information and see how these work and then see if we wanted. One thing I did want to clarify, Dave, the price that we voted on and is in the budget, is that per year or is that per the contract?
Per year.
Per year.
Yeah.
So that will be every year in your budget, there will be a line item for that.
Right.
That amount, okay.
Yeah.
Just in case we miss that. We did talk about the plow truck and we were talking that it might get there in November and we might see it for next winter. And then we were discussing other options and the possibility, do we want to try to get a slot at Viking now for the next truck and start looking into ordering it? Because they're 4 years out on slots. So we really need to take a look at that. That is probably the highlights of our meeting. And the contract or the proposals for the culvert were last because we waited for Robert to see if he could join our meeting.
So there's no action.
But he was unable to do that. So I don't think I missed too much. Those are the highlights.
Thank you very much. Anything else for Dave?
I don't think so. I don't know. We'll go home. Go home.
I'm gonna just go to work. I'll be back in a couple minutes anyway.
Yeah. You know, you missed the deadline by about 3 minutes. And if it wasn't for discussing the culvert, you might have made it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Have a good night, guys.
Have a good night.
John Paul? No.
Yeah, I have to go home. I can't find my schedule.
Delehanty? Nope. Kari, Dell, Veneri. Faignant, town lister.
Is she awake?
She was riveted by our discussions earlier. You were riveted by our discussions.
I
earlier.
was, well, no, actually, I enjoy listening to what's happening in the town because I think of it as, you know, what's getting to go in the present moment.
I know, you'll eventually get it. Yeah.
So were you doing math in your head about the value of Walmart?
You know, I don't want to be prejudging. And I, you know, in addition, they have business personal property, so that is another added attribute.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
So, but I just wanted to quickly I wanted to follow up on what some of what Kari was saying, that one of the things that we're finding in that office is an inordinate amount of return mail, tax bills, sales verification letters, mostly tax bills and business tax bills for the business personal property. So in your packet is an extension for the grand list. It is a proactive request to extend because I will not be in town for the next select board meeting, and that is the official deadline for the grand list unless we get this up to the state. So I'm going to ask you to sign it so that we have it, and if we have to go past the 4th, we are able to do so.
So you're requesting a 33-day extension?
Because it falls on the 4th of July, so and then that is a weekend, so we have to go to the Monday or the Tuesday after.
All right.
Tuesday, because
The motion's been made to approve. Is there a second? And seconded. Any further discussion? Who would you like to sign on behalf of this?
yeah.
You're it.
You're it.
Okay. All in favor of the motion and having the chair sign, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Pretty detailed, information sheet. I like this.
Well, yes, that is, it's actually posted on our website as well. What Joy is referring to is a 3-page detailed itemization job description, if you want to call it, of
Yeah.
what it is we do in that office. I think a lot of people have very limited knowledge of what actually happens in that office and how many programs we actually deal with. And, you know, I just valued Thomas or the Post Road solar field in the last couple days. So to sit there and think that I've gone from my law career to do an evaluation of a solar field is pretty interesting. But yeah,
I thought the utilities were taken over by the state.
utilities are taken over by the state. The solar fields are done through us. And it's
That's
through
because the state doesn't want to do that.
Right. So, but it's through step-by-step program that you can do, but you have to have all the numbers, you gotta have all the information from Green Mountain Power and everything. So there's a lot to the job and it's a wonderful job, but you know, for people who might be interested in it, this is a really good kind of information base of what we're doing. It, as much as I love just looking at the houses, it's so much more than that. But that's on the website. Anybody wants to take a look can do that. It's the subject of my Circle article because I'm trying to generate interest that people that would think beyond and there's actually an avenue that hasn't really been discussed about for purposes of filling that lister position as much as, you know, we'd like somebody who comes in and wants to absorb everything there is to do in that job. It's actually a opportunity for somebody who is a retired contractor or a contractor who's part-time trying to get out of it for coming in and doing all the inspections, you know, helping with the inspections, because we have to do that. They have the construction knowledge, being able to come in and talk quality and condition of the building, know all the components of it. They would have to go through the state training still to be able to do it, because it's a 4-day training on doing the assessments and the inspections. But, you know, that's an aspect because that is a time-consuming part of our job as well. So there would be, even if I can't, or we can't find someone who wants to do, I mean, we want what's happened since I walked in this door is that I firmly believe that every lister has to know the job in its entirety, because every lister is responsible for the grand list. So we split up tasks, but it's not that nobody can't do it, that we're trying to eliminate that from happening. But if we are limited to having someone who just wants to come in and do that part of it, it is all year long. I do inspections all year round now. So that's just a thought. Somebody take a look, see if it's interested, and go from there.
Okay.
So the other, so I want to say and follow up to Kari, we're having a lot of return mail. So if the taxpayer has property and they don't live here, or they've moved, or they've gone to a different place, but they still own their property, when you're doing your change of address for your post offices or in your banks, and you think of your town lister's office, because we have to be able to track you down. And same thing for a business. If you close, you know, just let us know. Habitat for Humanity has come in seeking the letter of denial from our attorney. And I will be summarizing the reasons in an email, which she agreed to accept instead, because as we're not usually in the habit of giving away attorney-client privilege.
Right,
But
right.
so I will be doing that. And other than that, we are working on getting closer to a decision on which way we're going for bid and reappraisal, and hoping to have that. I won't be in for the next meeting, but I plan on phoning in
Okay.
and hoping to have a recommendation by then. So that's essentially it.
Alrighty, questions for Marie and our listers?
Any questions, but this is a
That's good.
unique opportunity for the listers.
Yeah.
You know, we're looking to appoint someone, and given this very detailed description of what we're looking for, you know, it's a little different than somebody running for the office. And if we could get someone that's interested with some of these qualifications and they were interested in staying, it would really help us.
Yeah.
Yes.
You guys
Someone
did a
just
good job putting this
Popped
together.
into mind, so let me follow up.
Absolutely.
Have you had any victims yet? Or possible candidates?
2 people have indicated interest, but I'm not aware that they've actually followed through in any of the information that's been posted, and the information was sent to one of them.
Yeah, so I guess in the interim, you guys are short a person.
we're short a person and we're working very, very hard in there. And it's just, you know, there's a lot to go through and
And it sounds like you've taken on some new challenges.
yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, to the extent that we've budgeted for 3 people and you're down to 2, if there's, you know, clerical stuff that needs to get done, there is money to pay someone to cover that sort of thing.
Right. And there is in the state and the law, you know,
Yeah.
allows for us to hire like a lister assistant in that event. You know, if
that
that's the
entry
case.
person.
Yeah, but you know, the thing, yes.
As long as they understand how to enter the data.
That's the thing. It's the computer programs and knowing and how one affects the other. So yes.
I got a good education last Thursday. I spent about an hour with Mary.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's pretty.
I would invite you all to come in, you know, one-on-one if you want to come in,
pretty
because you get a really good, especially since we are looking at it, because I'm actually going to throw something out now, which I wasn't going to say, but I am going to put it out there. So if we have no one showing up, then I would suggest at that point that we form a committee on the future of the Lister's office.
And with
But I'm hoping we
bringing up
get
the
some.
question of whether we then put it to the voters to move to an assessor.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
About
Well,
what, 4 or 5 year old subject.
I think that's about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes up every,
Well,
and we looked at it.
we looked at it when
Last
Howard
year.
told us that he was
Yes.
going to be gone in a couple of years and
Yeah.
that we should be thinking. And then we were given an option that we,
We looked at it with Marcia last year.
Yep. But
So,
if you remember, there was an individual that was being recommended.
Yes, I remember that.
And that circumvented the hiring process and we
That's right.
kind of turned that.
That was, yeah,
Because anyway.
okay.
So it's just, I mean, I'm hoping that we can avoid that for this part, but you know, at some point, I mean, you might be faced with it down the road. It's becoming very technologically more advanced that, you know.
We may be at the point where we hire an actual assessor that oversees that office. And
Well, it's funny because in my efforts to try to understand and get a grasp of the people who are actually working within the Patriot AP5 program and the Patriot program, and you know, I called and I'm looking at the towns because I had our DA send me a list of all the towns that use them and everything. That was back in March. So I've called people, and a lot of the towns have an assessor with either 2 listers that are assisting them, or they have the assistant. So not all towns just have eliminated an assessor. They, you know, or eliminated the listers. They have the listers with an assessor.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but hopefully we'll have somebody who wants to come in and we'll keep it, you know, status quo if it's available.
Okay.
All right. That's it.
Right.
All right. Very good. Thank you very much.
Joe Denardo, Public Safety Building Clerk.
no update. I do happen to, and I apologize, I think I mentioned this last time, that I have to track down my contact at Allen Green and see where we are.
Okay.
That's
Um,
if they're in the height of their construction season, so.
yes. Yeah.
we'll get-
Okay. Bill Sweet,
No meeting, no report.
don't you wish?
Right.
Over the course of the next 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say the parking lot, the whole area around the place looked phenomenally better than it did the other day. But we talked with Tim Hubbard and he's up there. He's like, we're gonna take care of this. We're gonna be on it. So
Well, he's right there and that.
we did briefly discuss the advantageous option of a conveyor to run up to his but we're not gonna do that.
There was a gentleman there with a truck and a scoop shovel picking up cleaner, and he had a good load on the truck.
Yeah.
And I noticed the camper, that was at about 10:30. You know, I think Dave said they had that.
It's gone.
It's gone
Is it
now.
gone? Okay, good.
So, not to cut you off.
You remember last meeting when they said they were gonna revisit their security thing, they're firing Sensor, they're hiring a new company? I don't know if that just came down to them having a discussion with Sensor, but since that meeting, we've gotten a number of calls from Sensor about issues out there, so they're in some capacity got that.
Okay.
Or renegotiations. Yeah, you actually do your job, I don't know. Something. They are doing something, I guess.
The trash pickup there will be a daily routine.
It would have to be.
Well, the road going up to the arena, I mean, there's stuff scattered.
There is.
I go every week.
There's a
I go
dumpster there.
Every check I go.
I'm up there.
Tim said, we talked about there's 2 pending events, rather large events. They are prepared for those events. So they are going to make sure the facility is as ready as it can be for both of those dates. So
Alright.
they're aware. Yep.
I should ask this question, but do you know if there's anybody that's gonna go up there and cut grass?
I do not know.
You're asking.
That was not part of the, we were focused on the garbage.
No, but could you ask him?
Could I ask? I can ask, yes, and I will ask, yes. I
Go
will,
up there far enough, eventually it becomes Spartan's job, but you drive up there and you go into like the jungle and then,
the entryway, yeah,
anyway.
find out.
Actually, no mow May, so. Don't know.
It's been no mo since last May.
Well, yeah.
Maybe.
I was gonna say a few minutes. Okay, so in your packet, the next thing it was the first thing in the packet is the updated local emergency management plan. This has been updated to reflect changes in personnel and staff and roles. And
We need to approve this.
you do need to approve it, yes.
And there's, Kurt has to also
And Kurt
sign.
has to sign
We
it too.
authorize Kurt to sign for his part and Mary to sign for her part.
Motion's been made to approve the local emergency management plan. With Kurt and me authorized to sign in our respective places. Is there a second? Gives you to second it because everybody else is tied up. Okay, any discussion?
I wanted to thank the individuals that worked tirelessly to put this stuff together.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Okay, yeah.
It's an individual.
Help from Marty on this?
Marty sent it to me.
All right,
That count?
all in favor of the approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
All right.
It was something, Mary, else that we signed that I went to Matt that I didn't know if we all needed to sign, but I don't remember what it was.
Is it Maggie? The Regional Planning
There
Commission?
was some signatures we needed.
The grand list extension request is just,
One, that's
Okay.
just you, right?
I
yeah.
don't know.
Right. Was there something, I thought we
Okay,
voted on
that's a-
something else.
That's a good plan.
I don't remember what it was. And I didn't want us to get out of here. Was there another item, Matt, that we all supposed
We-
to sign that
well-
made it to you and I didn't see it come back or not? Or was did I miss that?
That was with the orders?
No, it was something I thought we
Frost
voted on.
Solutions, the
Huh?
contract for Dave for Frost Solutions.
So,
So you have the local emergency management plan adoption form, public works mutual aid agreement, grand list extension, and Frost Solutions contract. Those are the 4 things for signing.
All right, and they all just require Mary's? Or some of them?
Let's see.
Grand list was Mary, public works was Mary, local emergency manager just did. And then Frost Solutions, I believe is just Mary.
Okay, well, maybe I'm dreaming.
I don't think anything else.
and there's a space for highway department.
Yeah. So which is next? Where are you?
Well, do you want to do the Frost Solutions
I
since it's right there in front of you?
So let's do that.
Okay.
yes.
And those are weather stations, right?
Yes.
We need a motion to approve or is it just or we've already voted.
This is, no, so this is one where this is a 36-month contract, so we'd be approving 36 months. We budgeted for the first year. So,
Move we approve the contract for Frost Solutions
36-month contract with a grand total of $43,250 for 5 weather stations. And authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there discussion?
Only that the discussion at our meeting was about some different technology, and it would be like only 2. And we decided that the 5 was a better idea. Give us some more
5 stations.
5 stations, give us a more detail, or I don't know, diverse look at the town and see how these work out through the contract period, and then make adjustments down the road.
Ready?
All right.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Let's see.
That was the last item in the packet. You have on your desk, the last thing I believe on there is, we got the notice from Act 250 today, just kind of like for your information. That there's a petition to abandon a land use permit from John Kalish.
That's so far back.
Yeah,
That's
that's
fine.
Yeah.
that's the 7 South.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Issued 2009.
Yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna say, because I was involved with that as fire chief and as a board member. Wow.
So
No action required.
no action required unless you care to. Yep. Like we talked about, I'm talking about this at the highway committee meeting, but the AARP grant for the crosswalk lights, we did not get selected again. They received 5,100 applications and we didn't make the cut. And last night we got an email from Peter Welch's office, the Congressional Direct Spending. We were not selected for that either. So
What was that one going to be for?
remodeling downstairs, big project. So
Deficit operate the town for a couple of years.
we really do.
We're really hurt. Yeah,
Make us look like
the fact that we are able to make ends meet every year and improve our town is hurting us.
Yeah.
So we'll keep looking for other options, but both of those are not an option for this. I don't know if you saw in the hallway outside, our student artwork has returned from the town school.
Excellent. I can see
all over the place.
string
Yep.
of paper plates.
Came and got installed. So there's a lot of neat stuff out there. And there's been a lot of people coming in just to look at that. So that's nice. Reminder, the office is closed Monday for the holiday.
Somebody reminded me about that holiday and I was
Yep.
so excited. Okay.
Yep. No, we won't be here Monday. And
I'm not a big fan of that, but
there was a recent new service provider came in town called Cornerstone Caregiving. They provide services to seniors to help them with life. They located in the it's the Knollwood Professional Building on Route 4 East, above Mountainside Mutts, below what used to be House of Lights. They had a ribbon cutting ceremony yesterday that the chamber posted online with a picture of the Rutland City Mayor attending. So I called the chamber today.
Good.
And the very nice woman I met at the Regional Planning Commission last week at a meeting, and there was a moment of shock about what actually transpired to make that happen. And she was like, that's not okay.
Right.
We agree. So, it was disappointing.
The mayor knows better.
But we also talked about the fact that there was another ribbon cutting ceremony for a new addition to Staples that the chamber went to and had a big ceremony, and we weren't invited to that either. So I said, there's things that are happening in town that we would love to be a part of. At least we want to be invited. So
Was this Sarah that you talked with?
Sarah Pelkey.
Oh, okay.
There's two Sarahs. There's two Sarahs. Yeah, Sarah Furman just joined. So this is Sarah Pelkey. And she is going to bring that back to their next committee meetings and discuss about how to fix that going forward. So, we do work very hard to make sure people know that there's actually 2 municipalities in this, it's our town. So, we're working on that. We're working on that.
Sometimes right there, it's
That will.
We could have a ribbon cutting contest.
We should.
That would be fun. That would be fun. All right.
You get a steel bar painted and Fred for him and get a nice silk
Yeah.
one from Aaron.
Yeah, there you go. That's not hilarious. Running this event.
They're coming to our turf.
We're putting that drone up.
That don't,
We're gonna put that drone up on for that. event for
understand
sure.
the two communities thing.
Be good.
They really are.
There are very,
And
very,
there still are people out there that don't understand that.
I get calls all the time.
when we get into the scholarships, we receive 2 applications from people, from students in the city.
So close.
Well,
We try to make it obvious, but so that she was apologetic
Okay,
and is going to they're gonna bring that up again to make sure that we're aware. But this is not the first time by far that there's been events they've put on in the town that we haven't been invited to.
so the mayor will be at our Rotary raffle at Spartan Arena.
make sure you tell them where he is.
I already have done that. I said,
Put him in the
you
corner.
do know, right, that this is Rutland Town. He goes, yeah, I know. But he's there as a volunteer collecting food for the
But you need,
community covered, so.
well, it's not this, I'll bring this up after when
Okay.
I'm finished with Bill's. Don't want to get Bill done.
The only other thing you have on your desk should be the scholarship committee minutes, which were
Brief.
tough to take care of. We should all do our committee meetings.
You have also the results of that committee meeting. And these are things that are,
Super secret, super.
we'll call it embargoed because we want to surprise the students at class night.
Are you
So,
looking for like,
yes, the approval of the select board for us to
moved.
make these awards.
like that?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion without breaching confidentiality?
Perfect. Nice job.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
All right.
Aye. Motion carries.
Yeah.
It didn't take very long. I mean, but this was where, we had 2 folks from Rutland City. One was Rutland High School and one was Mill River. And they applied and one thing I did was I called the lister's office and talked with Marie and said, I'm gonna run some addresses by you, and you tell me town or city. So she was very helpful.
I did hear your comment, Matt, about some of the perpetual topics on that agenda. And you and Sharon had.
Are there for you.
I appreciate that. And the topic of the application
Yeah,
and selection was added last year when you and Sharon were looking at some of these as just reviewing them to see if there's any changes you want to make. So if you're happy with it, that's fine. I'm happy to take it off the list, but
one thing we wanted to raise, do you want to raise it?
Yeah, so
'Cause,
Mike's brought up a couple times the period,
yes,
such as the residency requirements
Yes.
and the qualifications, which says you must have resided in it for at least 2 years. So indication meaning like time of application, you've been there for 2 years. So I guess the question for us to decide is, well, what is it that we're trying to capture, with this qualification requirement? So obviously, if you have a high school senior, they've lived in the town for 2 years. It means they're not necessarily, a graduate of Rutland Town School. Vice versa, you could have somebody who does graduate from Rutland Town School and then moves to the city and plays else in there, and so now they're no longer eligible. And so I don't know what the intent was originally. And I think Mike's suggestion was he wanted it to be longer. Chris now, unfortunately, he's not here, so maybe we should have asked something who's here. But I think his suggestion was maybe it should be longer, like 4 years, so that capturing people who were graduates.
But not necessarily.
I
But that's
disagree.
Not
Yeah.
necessarily the intent of the.
It's pretty hard. I think what the idea is that we're looking for somebody that, say, didn't move into town in September and graduated
Right.
in May. Somebody's here for at least established a residence in town for a couple of years, but for it to be somebody that made their way through the town school and then through high school as a town resident, you really might start really too much scrutiny, you know, I think this is just a good system. I mean,
It's,
it's fair and it's people that at least have lived in town a couple of years.
and these are, you know, parents are usually voters, certainly.
At least a
At
couple of
least
years.
one parent is a
That's my
resident.
my new criteria when people come and complain to me.
Are you a voter? Do you vote?
Do you vote? Because if you don't go vote and exercise your right to approve a budget or vote in for something, you really don't have a say when something doesn't go the way you want. I think that's how you express your approval or disapproval to what goes on. Is you get out and exercise, because a very low voter turnout in Rutland town is really disappointing.
But it is, but we're not
Well,
alone.
no, we're not alone, but doesn't mean we have to be satisfied with the status quo either.
Okay.
You know, you make enough noise. I mean, Rutland town is kind of noted for making noise. You know, and, you know, we drag people down here from Montpelier and ask them what they're doing about the homeless situation in the state of Vermont, and they trip over their thoughts and their excuses, and reality, nothing changes. So, but we did get them on TV and we did make them heard, so.
Yeah.
And
Okay, so no
Well-
changes in the scholarship form at this time?
I don't think so.
They're all, if you know, have nothing else to do, I think the forms are still online.
They are, yes.
Yeah, so you can go and see what we say, but they really haven't changed much in quite a while. And for the most part, other than, I mean, the only thing that we bumped into was the financial need piece. And then we just decided, well, it's there as one of the criteria, you know.
That's hard to determine too.
Very hard.
Very difficult to establish.
And
Yes.
yeah, so we do the best we can. So there you go. It's a big group, good group of students.
So I will get the letters prepared.
Yes, thank you.
And
And you do them and then,
give them to you,
and
whoever's doing the
yeah,
presentations.
I'm doing, most of them are Rutland
The
High.
list will get sent to the award list will go to the appropriate schools.
Yeah,
So they can include it in their program. And then if you're attending, you'll get the letters that give them the details how to claim.
yeah. So I'll probably, anybody want to join me? Rutland High graduation, alma mater? Same.
I've done it.
I know you. I remember you came in.
I got the cookie.
You came in and it was just after the senior class had marched in, and there's this really, really tall senior that we're watching. Why, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You'd be sending letters also to those that can qualify to
We have,
Yes, please.
do you have that information?
So
I can. It's right here.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I will, the
the reasons vary.
we have in the past.
Okay,
Just
yes. we
Following
should
up and
do
be
that.
like, you know, just so you know, like, ignoring you.
I think there were two city residents and one where we got information from the school, but not
Yeah.
the actual application.
Not the application.
Really?
Yeah, that
Not
was
sure what
very
happened there, but-
strange.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So they thought if the post office ate it, then the student might be thinking, why
I
didn't I
had-
get it? And that's why.
I had sent a letter to someone in town to a valid address, which the post office decided it wasn't valid. Returned it on yesterday. It came here yesterday. It was mailed February 4th.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, of this year.
of this year.
So
yeah.
that's faster than we've seen
I mean,
before.
it's 3 months to get from up to Route 4 and back to say it's not there, but
For the student, we may get their thing next year.
May.
I don't know.
Okay.
So.
Oof.
so I have the only,
Yes.
Okay.
there's only one copy of those.
okay. And I still have them. I was gonna give them to you to shred, but I think we need a little more.
We usually wait till after the
After the
awards,
awards,
'cause that's-
yeah.
We do shred them, but that's a,
Okay,
We did receive a mail-in ballot this year of last year's ballot, so I mean, you never know when your stuff's gonna get final. It's good to use the Dropbox out here. if it's really
Dropbox
important.
is.
we do go through it.
Yep.
Yes.
That's for it. That gets used a lot.
Okay, so that takes care of D. We did the Stratton Road culvert and we have mapped out a plan for that, and I'll call Kevin. Rental housing code. At some point we should chat again with JP and Kevin and do that thing. Disaster recovery process. In process, select board project list. There it is. Is Dave Sharnock coming in sometime?
He is getting a hold of the companies to talk with them about some work that could be done to it, and he wanted to loop you in to talk about some of the excavation and try and get the two of them out front at the same time.
Okay.
So he plans to come in after he coordinates that meeting.
Okay. And then committee meeting reports, we did scholarship, we did highway, did we do police? What do we do on police?
We didn't actually go over the minutes.
Roundabout way. They might have missed some of the higher.
Talked about Walmart.
The highest thing was
Talked about Walmart.
Walmart would like to highlight, right?
Yeah,
I
so another meeting. We'll be in touch to set that up, police committee.
We discussed everything else that was on the permanent agenda and we've removed some
I
of them.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's getting a little shorter.
Okay. I think that's.
Motion.
Move to adjourn.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
All right.
Aye. Yeah.